going live.
We're going live, which is pretty much evil backwards. So,
Oh, shoot.
yeah, man. Well, that's why we're here, to stop the evil. And you can only do that live, believe it or not, right?
True.
Because you got to this is the best place to do the work from is front row seats. I mean, you can't get much closer to the picture than the front row seat in the movie theater. That's why our heads are all tilting up, and I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they're tilting down. Yeah,
Yeah.
good morning. Episode 11, right?
Yup. Morning, everybody.
And it's 10/11, so that's a lot of 11s, man.
Right?
Yeah. What's the
You're...
date today? We got another 11 there. Oh, we just missed this, the damn 30th. Well, it's the 29th somewhere still, right? Hawaii, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
maybe.
they're way past. No,
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
gonna try that. I think everybody's on the 30th, so welcome to the 30th of May. We
Yeah.
got a nice Memorial Day weekend. Todd, why do we even have Memorial Day? What's the holiday there? Is this something for veterans again here?
Dude, I have no idea. I literally... You wouldn't believe how many holidays I do not know.
Hmm.
I barely
Well, I
know
mean,
the regular ones. I mean, I don't know. It's
I don't
probably
blame you.
it's probably probably a veterans one. You got to keep that you got to keep rewarding the order
Patriotism up.
followers and making sure
Right.
that people value people that don't think for themselves and just go kill people because someone wants you to go do that. So that's probably what it is.
Right. And not everybody knows that they're doing that.
Sure.
Your Barry Sign Waves here was a member of the military, and he can tell you firsthand that, yes, there's a lot of killing, and yes, there's a lot of order following, and but it's a really good way to see firsthand what's going on. I got to go over to Iraq and pretty
Oh,
much see that. Oh yeah, 3 times. Saw
wow.
them taking all the oil. I went right in the
Yep.
beginning in '03, and then in '04, and then in
Wow.
'07.
Damn,
It
dude.
was. I had fun though, man. I look at the military like a stepping stone, kind of. So,
Mm.
and then I studied philosophy after that, and I thought it was kind of odd because I was my first year of philosophy. We were going over the Greek stuff or whatever,
Right.
and in the Greek philosophies, we went over the philosopher king, and the philosopher king. They wrote this mythic about how there's the perfect society, the perfect man, and the perfect ruler of a perfect society, and it would be a philosopher king, and someday we
Yeah.
would have a moral or an earned society where it would be a meritocracy or a plutocracy, and it would be based upon merit and good standing. And we're pretty far from that right now. But anyways, it said in there being in the military was a part of the grand ruler or the philosopher king. I always think about that, how it's
Mm.
fucking weird. Why would they put that in there? Is that something people would have to overcome, like that
Mm.
war Mars nature, or in order to be a true calm down hero like Mars and Scorpio? Like, I don't know. I just thought it was
Yeah.
pretty odd.
Yeah, that is interesting. I like. Well, to be real, I do have respect in terms of military in essentially. So like I have not been in the military. My mother was in the She went to the Air Force. My brother also went
That's
into the Air
cool.
Force, and I have a lot
Nice.
of
I was in the Air Force too.
Okay, yeah. I have a lot of respect for the will to do that, and I think the
Right.
discipline and sort of preparation they give. Because if you, I mean, I know a little bit about boot camp and that it's like
Hmm.
anyone can go, and it's usually people that don't have a lot of great options. So you're getting discipline, you're
Yeah.
getting a lot of structure that you're not going to get in too many other organizations, especially these days. So there is
Right.
value to it, but you have to wonder when these
Yeah, yeah.
companies lose, like, oh, we don't have, like, we lost like $500 billion, and oh, it's in a black military project and we can't talk about it. It's like,
Yeah.
that's my money. I think we should be able to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
think we're gonna come full circle into that with society. I mean, it's gonna be. I look at like taxes in the future. Like you get some kind of worksheet, and based upon your age, where you live, how you live, you can kind of denote where you'd like your contributions and taxes to go towards. So if you use the park systems a lot, but you don't drive and use the roads, maybe you'd want more money into the systems that you actually use as a tax-paying citizen and whatnot.
Well, it'd be weird to see how that would play out though, because like I don't know what the
Right,
average person would put their money in. They'd be like, I mean, look at the gender studies nonsense. It's like what?
right.
That's a
But the
weird
neat
use
thing
of
is
money.
how do we know what the people really want and what's
Mm,
being portrayed as what the people want? Like, I don't really think the people want gender studies. Like, well, I don't think they want their
yeah,
kindergartner learning about, sexual preference and whatnot yet.
yeah, for
So
sure.
it's I feel like a lot of it's shoved down our throat, and they take our tax dollars, and they're really just coming up with these virtual programs that don't cost money, and they're saying that's where all the money's going when they're really dumping the money in gold, silver, fucking land, stealing all of our commodities and resources right out from under us, and rape and pillaging the earth with it. So
Yeah,
it's just a big like pull the wool over the sheep's eyes type act, I'm sure.
yeah,
But
yeah, for
the
circus, man.
military used to be it used to be more of a like a service to your state. Like, so the
Yeah,
the region that you grew up in, it was an act of protection because there was still evil in the world, and it was a place, it wasn't like a going out. Like, you wouldn't go out to other countries and bring them democracy. I mean, that's just, you celebrate the differences in the world. That's the whole point of this system. So but
yeah,
yeah, I think back in the Greek day, the military state was a much different state. And nowadays, I looked at it as, like you said, a way to get out from my parents' house. I got accepted to a college up in Maine, but I knew I wasn't really ready. Like, I would just party and stuff like that. And then pretty much, now if you look at it, I've got medical insurance covered for the rest of my life through the VA, which is pretty badass.
yeah,
And
nice.
then I used the GI Bill, that was 50 grand. So I mean, it's got its perks, in a costly world for sure. But
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of it's a dog and pony show or whatever. I mean, it really is. It's just I don't know, it's just a bunch of show, man.
yeah. Hmm.
But
Oh
yeah, so
well.
Todd, how's we got another week under our belt here, episode 11. Did you get into anything over the week? Any synchronicities hit you, or what were you
Yeah.
feeling this week?
Um. Well, so this week I'm still kind of on a diet of astrology people and whatnot, but I
Yeah,
still been reading cards and stuff, and I did a couple readings for people yesterday, which was cool.
that's
Um,
cool.
the vibe this week has been, like I say, really deep into art. But so I have a, synchronicity with a time. Is it? Should I
Uh-huh.
share that? I don't. If you share that,
Yeah.
that kind of like propagates. I don't know if that's good. I'll share it. It's okay.
I Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So I have a time code that I'll share this story too because it's a little bit funny. So when I was really young, I would
Cool.
stay with my grandma, and she would watch a show. I think it was called Matlock.
Okay.
Just like some old dude. I think that's what it was called. It's like some old dude that would like solve crimes.
Okay.
And I specifically remember this episode because I was pretty young. I mean, probably four or something, five maybe.
Okay.
And there was an episode where someone dies, and there's like a VCR. This is back when we still had that stuff. And
Yeah.
or when it wasn't a VCR, it was like some sort of digital clock, like old though. And
Yeah.
she died, and they were upside down, and the clock read 11:34, which if you
Uh-huh.
look at it upside down, it spells hell.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it
So
does.
I have for some reason that's always stuck with me, and I had that happen a whole bunch this week, which was very odd. But I looked it up in the
You had a
Bible.
lot of 1134s pop up?
I had like three in a row over the last 2 days, which is very odd because I'm not very tuned into time anymore, so I just kind of
Yeah, yeah.
see it. I'm trying to pull it up real quick because I looked it up on the Bible Hub, and it's got a
Uh-huh.
really interesting verse. Of
Oh,
course,
cool.
I can't find it
I
right
love
now.
tying that in, tying times into Bible verses too.
Yeah, so I think it's Luke. I'm pretty sure it's Luke 11:34.
Okay.
Put this up. Here it
It
is.
starts talking about time, doesn't it?
So we'll go
Maybe
with the
something.
King James Bible because it's
Okay.
whatever. So it is the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, thy whole body also is full of light. But when thine
Um,
eye is evil, thy body also is full of darkness.
mm,
So
mm.
I like it. I guess I don't.
That's a famous. That's a very. I've heard. I used to study Bill Donahue quite a bit, and Bill Donahue. He's got a bunch of pretty much videos on YouTube, probably over 1,000 of them, where it's like it looks like a church preacher setup, but it's kind of a esoteric spiritual science Bible thing that they study that they do, and he's always referring to that verse, if thy eye be single, thy body will fill with light. He doesn't usually mention the backside with the darkness, but that's really interesting. It reminds me of the language crystal book, where if you balance the inner light versus the outer light, you kind of get that standing wave of light and darkness kind of having sex right there, kind of marrying,
Hmm.
and it's really neat, man. That's a cool verse to tie that into as well. I mean, we were just the first thing we said when it went
Right.
live, we're like, "Oh, that's evil."
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. That's a
Yeah.
good synchronicity.
Yeah, it
So you've been
resonates
having
with
that
me
coming
with
up a lot.
yeah, it resonates with me for art too because and I don't know. I don't think we talk about gematria yet. We got to get a expert on that on the show for that. But
Yeah,
I know I showed
not my
you.
super strength, but yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people are into it.
Well, it's super fascinating because when I go through gematria, my name literally equals art, like 100, like TOD and ART. It's like a perfect match on, I think, like 5 or 6 ciphers, which is very odd.
That's cool.
I've
That is
only
really
found a
awesome.
couple other matches that are like that level of. I mean, there's tons of words, but like I only really search
Right,
relevant words usually, and
right.
so for me, relating it to the 1134 passage or whatever it is, for me it's like oh if I like for me it seems like the light of the body is the eye, sort of referencing me like putting my light towards art in any way is like what I need to do. It seems like so that's cool.
That's and 1134 too, man. That's a 7-Eleven. The 34 would be the 7 right there, and you've
Mm.
got the 11 in the beginning, which is the real 9/11. Because if you think about it, the 9/11, September 11th, Sept is 7. So I mean, 7-Eleven always open,
Right.
24/7, man.
Gas station energy.
Right.
Perfect.
It very much is. Um, I 7-Eleven's my one of my pretty much my most sacred number here. I look at the 7-Eleven. I mean, it equals 9 in itself. It's pretty much got the 11. It's got the 7. The 7 is going to be, if your body filled with light, if your eye be single, that 7 is going to be the center of the 6, and that's going to be the particle of the sex. So it's pretty much the offspring or that child, and it's why Saturn's the seventh or the crown up there. But it's also a Saturn sandwich. So Saturn goes from the bone, the inner bone, the marrow and whatnot, and all the way to the skin. So we've pretty much got, Saturn's matter realm right there.
Hmm.
But yeah, and if you fill it with light, you'll sing the L, right? EL, which goes back to the God L, which is really going to be coming from it's singing Uranus, it's electricity, which is the next sphere out, which is the eighth sphere. So it shows you that seventh sphere is the matter, the particle, and then the eighth is that Uranus, that eccentric electricity that kind of comes in as the on or off switch for the matter. So you've pretty much got um, sporadic events, and that sits in time, which is that Neptune, which is why you have the three tridents, with the center trident being the now, and the one in front and behind being the future, and then the past right there. And then Pluto would be the choices that you've made in time with your consciousness as the particle, and then Pluto represents the character, the destiny,
Hmm.
which is your darkness, your form, your shade. So it's a very much you use that light, that consciousness, to see the matter world, to kind of experience it, to give it a description, and then you go on your way in time, through that Neptune, that intuitive energy, that storm chaos. If you're either listening to that pure intent, or if you're listening to that intuition that's causing pure intent in you, then at that point there, things flow. Things are in harmony. You're going along with the universe, the one verse. But if you're out of tune there, which Neptune, if you're out of tune, you're the adversary. You add a verse to the air and the E. Yeah, man.
Nice. How
So
about you?
1134 is
Kind
coming up a
of,
lot for you.
yeah.
I've had a neat week. I've had a real big kind of duty business kind of merchant Mercury week, I feel like.
Hmm.
We've got Mercury just went retrograde yesterday at 3:42 p.m. Eastern. So right up until then, it seemed I was kind of tying up a lot of my loose ends in communication. I've got a lot of like little stressors with life events right now, with like, I don't know, rent got raised and shit, so that caused me to
Yeah.
look at houses to buy. And once I was looking at that, I realized I'm at the top of the fucking market right now, so it's a horrible time to buy. And then
Hmm.
that forced me into having to pay this douchebag more rent money. So I mean, but I could see it in the astrology charts, the way the energy was moving, where money was coming and going from. So I kind of, like, I'm in acceptance mode of it. So I just kind of ponied up what this guy
Yeah.
wants, because I really, in the end, I mean, and it's a big rent raise. This guy's raising it like $500 a month. And
What? That
oh yeah,
sucks.
man. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, where I'm at, it's getting so expensive. Like, I live on the outskirts, like a half hour out of Louisville, so I'm in the
Hmm.
country, nice, beautiful, huge log cabin with a pond on 6 acres. Like, everyone's trying to move out here and take up these properties, and it's causing all the greedy landlords to up their rent. And now, if, like, when I went to go, like, I'm paying now, I think, 2250 a month for rent, $2,250 each month. Absolutely ridiculous. I've
Yeah,
never paid
geez.
something like that in my life for rent, but it's honestly, it's worth it. I went and looked at places around, and a shittier place was more money. So I was just like, well, this is asinine. Like, what choices do I have? Do you just rip up the kids and change their schools, and go out into somewhere deeper? I mean, obviously, I could be a lot happier myself in a lot of different places, but how would this affect everybody else that I'm with, all the animals that I'm helping? So, I mean, it
Hmm.
was a tough way. I mean, and then in the end, like, I kind of weighed the virtues of, like, so if you end up making some kind of choice to benefit the money, like, what are you're going to have, what, more money? Like, how the fuck is that some kind of goal you should be striving towards, to have more money in your pocket, which is absolutely kind of meaningless, and there's just no inherent value there. So then I kind of realized, you get certain amounts of money coming in your life to put you in certain situations, where you're called to help. And that kind of just, led me to let the money away that I've been kind of holding on to, that I didn't want to fucking let go. And I got
Yeah.
rid of a car. I went and traded a car that probably, was running. It was going to need a good 5,000 in repairs and shit. And I traded that in on something newer with a tow hitch, so I could, bring the family on some vacations with the squirrels in a little camper or something. So a lot of running around. I went up to Michigan, and got some buds up there. Kind of happy I only have
Right.
to go 5 6 hours now instead of Colorado. But at the same time, I wasn't really excited about prices up there. I mean,
Well.
it's such a rape and pillage system, man. I mean, prices are going up, and it irritates me. It's just, I can
Yeah.
it's really gonna, because I know that if I can feel the crunch, I have plenty of, like, I'm very blessed. I have plenty of money coming in each month, and like I said, I'm just very blessed. I thank everything every day for being so supported. But I know that most people aren't like me. They don't have a bunch of support and help coming in every day just off their own merit. They might depend on a parent or a spouse's job, or even, whoever has money coming in. It can't keep up with what's happening right now.
Yeah.
They give us the stimulus and this and that, but then they raise up your electric bills. I mean,
Right.
they find ways to take it back. Like it's a
Yeah.
big kind of buddies club. They're all sitting around and they're like, "Look, here's what we're going to do. We've got to print all this money coming up this year. However, don't worry, guys. We're going to get it all back to the companies. So you're going to raise your prices over
Right.
here. We're going to have some food shortage thing. We're going to actually pay farmers this year more money to not grow crops, and that will kind of create a food crisis and all your so you're going to get money, all you Walmarts and all you fucking food stores out there, whatever. And then,
Amazon.
oh, electric companies, yep, we're going to go ahead and, electricity power should people need power. So we're going to just up the price there. And dude, it's been nasty this year. I mean, I had $1,000 electric bills in the wintertime
Wow.
with, I'm talking
Yeah.
with,
My
I
bills
got,
went
I
up
got
too.
three fireplaces in my house. I keep a fire going all the time, all the time.
Nice.
I mean, granted, I got to check on that insulation probably, but it's just dumb, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go see a movie for with a family of four for under $200. I mean,
Wow.
granted,
Yeah.
who even wants to go see a movie anymore? All that bread
Yeah.
and circus, but
I
like
haven't been to a
sports
movie
game,
in
how
probably a
funny does
year.
that sound? Going to a sports game right now. I mean, doesn't that just sound, I mean, and I literally wouldn't be able to go and enjoy it which is
Mm.
sad, unless I was like going to bet money on it or something, which is kind of sad too on the gambling aspect. But
A lot of
I
people
just don't
really
find
need that
enjoyment
though.
in it.
That's their thing, Like that's their dopamine, They gotta get the sports,
Right.
which is crazy to me. Like I personally watch like maybe one game a year because I don't really
Yeah.
care. It's all the same to me. Like you can score a
Right.
hundred touchdowns. It's the same as every other touchdown.
Right. It's
But
almost, yeah, like I'll enjoy a good game and a good classical setting, like a World Series or a Super Bowl, probably, but
for
that's got to
sure,
be about it nowadays. And then I even don't even really get excited about it. Like I don't have a team anymore. Like I don't, it's just, it doesn't excite me. Like I look at it as so, like, I don't know, we're all star energy, you know what I mean? We're all this light, and it's going to come down to the fact of what can you really do with your life? Like, what kind of real skills do you have in there? What have you been able to conquer? What have you been able to tame? And we give all this credit and all this hoopla to a world of, they can play this one game that we invented, and
right?
it's just, doesn't make sense to me anymore. I I want to see the humans, doing alchemical things and just using doing what our creator does. I want to see somebody that understands the stars and how they connect to the earth, and I want to hear the mythical stories of all the different cultures, and that, I just want to hear all the real shit everywhere now.
Yeah. It's interesting
Like,
because we talked about, I think you talked about it one or two episodes ago. You talked about the Mayan, where they supposedly they kick that like tiny ball through that hole. And
yeah, the Mayans, yeah.
I
South
saw,
America somewhere.
yeah, yeah, which I don't know if I totally believe that. That sounds like an insane sport, especially if you like lose
There
and
was
you
death.
die, like
Yeah,
maybe, but
there was a lot of death in that game.
really,
Yeah, because they played with a very hard ball, and at the same time they put their body, they would totally sacrifice it, put it on the line, and it was a full contact sport, like having like hockey involved. It
dang,
was very much like a blood sport type situation,
that's cool.
but it was considered sacred.
Yeah.
Like when they did these events, they would line them up to the stars, so
Mm,
they would know that, hey, this is a time of this type of energy. We're going to go play with those gods. And just like the opening scene, I think on the Bhagavad Gita, when the one character rides off into battle, and there's going to be all this murder and violence and taking place, but the character on the horse rides out in full steam and full acceptance of its role to play,
yeah.
to boost the overall role of humanity along. Like if somebody tapped Hitler on the shoulder and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to need you to go down here. I'm going to need you to do X, Y, and Z. And then I know that's crazy. And I know you typically don't like to do these kind of things. But listen, if you can pull this off, it's going to pull the world really close to our goal. I
Hmm.
mean, what would you say? Would you say yes? Or would you say, no, I wouldn't like how my image would be perceived right there. We
Hmm.
better not do that. Like you would probably, if you were a super all powerful being of light, you would accept any calling that nature or the universe asked you to do because it wouldn't ask you if you weren't the one specific, situation or personality or being of light that could pull it off or do that job.
Right.
So it's an honor to be shown your place almost. It's kind of an honor, like, look, this is where you go. This is where you belong. When we organize things and we put things in their place, when like is with like, this is where you be, right here.
Hmm.
And I feel like people like me and you and many others, people that tune in, we're all system busters, man. We've been doing this for eons. Like we pretty much look around for systems that are getting manipulated and getting taken advantage of, and then we download into those systems however you download into them. Some of them are physical like this, some of them are, from our perspective, non-physical, and you can't see them with these eyes, and it just depends. We've taken so many systems before and we've just restored them and busted them up, and we've been chasing these fuckers down through system, and I
Yeah.
feel like we've finally got them cornered. We finally got them in the center where we're going to swallow them up and put them back into the crystal clear.
And shit them out.
And yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good place to be. I mean, it's a good calling to have. I mean, think of sitting in comfort and joy and pure love all the time. I mean, wouldn't that get a little bit old? I mean, I guess
Right.
not. I
Well,
guess not,
yeah.
but can spirit get bored? I mean,
Some
I
people
I would
would,
want,
you know.
yeah,
Some people, well,
some,
that's where Loki and Hayuaka, I think is the Native American version of Loki, but isn't that what Loki
yeah,
is? Like Loki,
Mercury,
he's
yeah.
literally
It's
like
the low key.
he just like gets drunk, murders people. They're like, well, he's the brother of
Right.
Odin. We can't do anything.
Right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's going to be Mercury, the messenger, and it's like the telephone game. You know how on the telephone game the message gets distorted by the time it gets to the last person there, and
Hmm.
Mercury is that Loki is that connector. That traveling merchant who is the speed, it's the lower key, so it's the fastest thing in the world of sound. So if you look at all the things that emanate into sound and have a sound body, you've got Loki right there leading the way, doing the first. Well, really, we don't give credit to Vulcan, and because Vulcan's not visible, but really Vulcan's going to be inside of Mercury there at a 19-day orbit. I mean, think about that. That's quicker than the moon. We've
Hmm.
got something that makes it goes around the circle in 19 days, and that's epic. I mean, that's very, very fast right there. So that's our crystal ball right there. And that's Vulcan with I heard the other day Vulcan it's Vulcan's hammer is made of tungsten.
Huh.
Um yeah, I
Interesting.
don't know if anybody ever has anything on that, but I'm really into tungsten right now, so I mean that really hit home hard when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah,
But
I don't know what
but
that's
the low
for.
key, the low. I think figuring out low key here is, we have to use the low key. We have to use what we have here. We have to use sound. We have to use visible nature, and we have to use money. Which is really connected to the moon, of course. But the merchant is what brings the moony around everywhere and gives things life. So. And you can't live very long and create the life you want to create if you don't have the moony flowing into you here.
Yeah,
And so
currency.
that's right, the current of the sea.
Hmm.
So the flow, which is the wolf backwards, and you know the and then if I found out that all the wolves they hide in 12. If you look at the T12, if you T-12 and you replace the E with an O, you've got the T wolves right there, the wolves with teeth.
Hmm.
And yeah, then that's the sine wave that eats the particle. It eats the 13 in the middle right there. So There's pretty much probably, let's see, there's probably one wolf and 11 sheep in the 12 right there. Or it could just be the 12, like an E is a spiral, right? So what kind of
Yeah.
wolf is it? It's a wolf that eats your spiral, and they
Hmm.
call it the wolf with a O. So it's the snake that eats its tail. They have masked it. So,
You think
um,
that's the wolf in the Greek, or I'm sorry, in the Norse mythology, the Fenrir who can eat the sun and moon? Is that the same thing,
yeah,
you
I
think?
do.
Okay.
I think it's the fixed stars, and I think what it's happening is the inner light, or the light that you're looking at from what we call the sun. This is all going to be inner light, and like just like what a mushroom has in it that grows in a dark cave, like that infrared system, and then the inner light becomes visible at certain angles or angels, and that's what our what we call our sun each day is tracking across. It's just an angle. It's catching an angle of that light. But I think the fixed stars or the space around, which is going to be metal, so everything that you look out that causes a reflection there, that shows you that it's pulling light towards it and it's reflecting an image. So the energy alchemical exchange right there is going to be it's receiving infrared light energy, which is that long wave, that long red wave, which is really the only way you can talk to things out, like that are far away, is through the red wave. Because that's what connects, that's like the railroad tracks, where the blue wave is going to be the car on the track. That's the short up and down wave that's traveling on the long red wave. So
Hmm.
I think that the wolves are connected to these long, like if you look at a zodiac wheel and you look at those 12 bars, I think those are like metallic bars that is attracting energy, and it's these wolves eating the essence that builds life. So if you don't use it here, if you don't earn it, if you don't pretty much hold on to what you've earned, it gets kind of slips away, it deteriorates, which is the oxidation process too. It's that decay. So really, your biggest and decay is the principle here. So you've got to have a large half life. If you want to live the longest, you've got to have a big half life here, to where you don't even start to decay until a long time down the road. And I'm sure there's plenty of ways to build this, but I think you do have to build it through generations of people. I think
Yeah.
that's why we have certain organs that come online, like when they say, oh, the throat and all the organs of the throat and the voice, speech, and sound, those came after, that of the stomach and all these other things, which is kind of getting back into like natural evolution theory. But I think what they did is they took spiritual and soulful things that manifested, uh, on a timeline, and they used their story to kind of hide the real story. And things, organs appear. Organs are very. It's a very neat concept to think of what an organ really is, and I mean, they're almost like they're putting together a set of frequencies, and they're putting a certain tone on sound in a way, and it's manifesting. So you've got right now all the things that we're doing in our reality, that we're doing unseen things to where we're taking frequencies and sound and we're storing them and we're bouncing them off a certain area, even if it's not physically there yet. So like our Neptune, our Uranus, and our Plutonian spheres that are outside of us, outside of our physical body, our Saturn, matter being, we're hitting nodes, we're striking nodes, and we're building a real organ system in these larger bodies that are in these larger shells. So what's going to happen someday, way down the road, is you're going to have a ever increasing, more refined, more clearer, a being that is going to be etheric, and it's going to be completely see through, and it's going to have all of its organs activated on all of its different spheres, because really the organs are just a different concentric circle away from your solar plexus. That's all it is. That's why the throat, it takes a while. It takes a pretty big concentric circle to bounce up there and to hit some edges. So it shows you that the throat, using all of this up there, requires having all those inner circles right there. First, you need to pull all that light from somewhere in order to put it into sound. So you need the mind. You need that hive mind down there first, and you need to get the intuition going. But And
That's
that's kind
interesting.
of the unseen, the inner side of. Yeah, yeah.
That reminds me of Sword in
But
the Stone. Did you ever read that?
yeah, well, seen the movie a million times, but I never
Oh,
read the book.
okay. I didn't see the
Man, I
movie.
know I'm missing out.
Well, in the
Yeah,
I
just
don't
the
know.
dumb Disney movie.
Okay, do they in the movie does he turn him into an ant at all?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. So in the book, he gets turned into a bunch of animals. I think in the movie they do a fish and maybe the bird, but
Yeah, and a squirrel and some other things.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, in the book, he also gets turned into an ant, which is kind of hilarious because basically he's just like a number, and he doesn't like. They just like show up, and then he's like trying to talk like a independent thinking individual pretty much, and like they're like number what number like 2044, you need to
That's
be
funny.
doing this and you're not doing the correct thing, and then they render him like obsolete, and he's just like what I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and they're just like total hive minds. And it's a interesting
That's
perspective.
awesome.
Yeah, really recommend that book.
That
Honestly, it's
is.
great.
I was thinking about something like this just like within the last 48 hours about quantity versus quality.
Mm.
I was kind of thinking too about like gematria and numbers and just, counting. I was thinking I was gonna see where mental count was, and then I told myself, no, you'll never count it. You're not a counter. And then I started thinking about quantity versus quality.
Oh, hang on, you're sounding like
You
a
kind
robot.
of you don't go. Okay, my bad. I went inside.
Uh,
I'm just getting water here.
yeah, that's all good.
You hear me? But I was thinking that qualitatively, we've got two very different, just different aspects now. To count to count things is very much the logos or is order, design and structure. It's a different kind of a knowing. A qualitative knowing would come at you more of through a feeling and through a sense situation, and it's like two realms kind of marrying each other here. And it's almost like we try to count things that you can't count. Like you can't count love. I can't go count how much love I have for somebody. But
Right.
I can feel the qualitative aspect of that love. I can feel compared to other kinds of love I've had in my life, what kind of love I have for my child versus what kind I have for my partner, versus my neighbor. And it's I think we've got very much two paradigms that are marrying here right on the tip of a mountain, but you can't delve too deep into the one with the other. Like you can't go too deep into quality with quantity.
Right.
It because it's not a real, like there's no concept there. There's the reason they're separative in their two qualitative and quantity, areas is because that's the only way you can even have those concepts. You just can't. They're kind of unmixable.
It's like a
So I
ratio you have to balance, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much so. That could be the inner light and the outer light. It could be the whole inner kingdom is a qualitative kingdom, unseen things you feel. The stuff you can't talk about. You can't say God or the Creator's true name because naming first of all denotes. Well, really, you can't name anything here, right? We're in the realm where you can't name anything because it's constantly moving and changing. And to name something that constantly moves and changes, it would be something different the next second. So, you know, we maybe you can name, in the realm of truth, I suppose, in the realm of like axioms where, you can't make a triangle with more than 180 degrees. Maybe things have names, which would be very quantitative, wouldn't it? Wouldn't names be connected to number a little bit? I mean, I suppose that's the
I wonder
message behind.
because you could say that, well, that's kind of where gematria I think kind of would be interesting to delve into, because if you look at, so my name has a value of the one is like 39, which it's like if art also has that value, then you can, in my opinion, you can. It's not like exact, of course, but it's like you can
Right.
say that those values are the same in terms of their quality, right? Those whatever the
Sure.
value of 39 is, and to me, I think 39 is an interesting number because it's 13 times three, you know. So,
Right.
uh, yeah, I mean, I personally between I'm personally a quality person. I know that's like a Libra trait as well. I don't know
Yeah.
Scorpio, but definitely a Libra trait. And
Yeah, I'm a Libra rising. Yeah.
word, yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely so. We like quality over quantity typically, but you need $2,000 to pay your rent and stuff like so.
Right, right. Oh, that feels heavy enough. Well, I need to know exactly how many that is.
Right, yeah.
Yep,
I
yep.
think a lot of people, because of the traditional programming of specifically Western education system, is very quantity based, where they go, oh, well, if you have a lot of points, you win the game, you know, and you
Right,
look at like
right, right,
organizations where it's like if you have all these people are a gang or whatever, you have more gang than the other one, so it's instead of
right,
saying like why don't we have quality transportation across the entire country, like high speed trains and like proper
right,
housing, like underground homes? Why don't we have community, the answers to fix all of our problems already exist. They're very easy to find. I mean, it's
right,
10 minutes of internet research, or just follow my Twitter. You will literally know everything you need to know. So,
right.
yeah, it's always, but I think more people with the last year though, they're realizing that they do have to up their quality game a little bit, which is a good thing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I look at like when I get one of the big, I guess, stumbling blocks I have with things like gematria is going to be, I want a real qualitative number, like, and that's for me, I'm reaching for something that might not be there.
Mm,
Like, and the reason I don't know if I can find this is because there's a separation between sound and spelling. And then
mm,
when we go to use these systems, we put a spelling thing in. We don't put the sound in. I don't get to say plain in there and have one particular sound. I mean, I could spell plain different ways and get different numbers. So to me,
yeah,
I see something where I don't know how pure, I don't know if what I'm looking at is something I can depend upon to give meaning and interpretation and to look at the symbolism or the nature
yeah,
of it, because I don't know if this is going to align with the true principles. And that comes down to knowing the true spelling system, I suppose, how something in sound would appear, within the letter. And that's tricky. I'm very much still working through those phases of my life. I'm at a point where I know I have meaning for each letter. Like, I
mm,
can take each letter, each symbol, and that means something to me. So if you give me a spelling word, I can have meaning for that, the meaning inside of that word, no matter how it's spelled.
yeah,
However, I don't know about the true. I can't give you a true sound spelled word yet in 100% confidence and then equate that into the numerical value from that. I think that to have a set agreement on the way a sound is put into spelling is very important if we're gonna, be pure gematrists or what how
right,
numerologists,
yeah,
and I think you can study numbers independently. I think you can come to know things about, 1 through 9 and 0 in itself, and then really everything outside of that in terms of numbers is going to just be, uh, factorization or division or some kind of play on those original numbers right there. So it would do people well to have a strong understanding of the nature of 3,
yeah.
or just what have you there. I mean, that's kind of how I treat it at this point. Still, I'm still kind of, you know, working through some of that stuff there for sure.
You know what's interesting about that is so I've mentioned Flight Boss many times on here, and he mostly because I resonate. Like I'll literally be on a some sort of a thought excursion for a week or something, and then I tune in, and he's
Yeah.
literally saying the same. Sometimes I literally think I just manifest this whole reality because like why are people saying shit that's in my head? But
Right.
he has a great point. I think it was like last year or something, and this is how I feel too. Is he's like what we should be eventually doing because what I think you were sort of saying is like what's the point of the value of anything language wise, right? So if I attribute a number to it, why is that important? And then why which one's more important? So you end up like basically just spinning your wheels. But what he was saying is, and this is
Right.
why I think the AUI or the AUI language and like sign language especially like we should all just learn this really fast because it's a lot faster to learn.
Yeah.
But he's saying in the future we should literally just be like making hand gestures and making like like if we restore our telepathy so like everyone gets this ability back because you are telepathic and like
Right.
um if you get this back like first of all you have to change your moral compass has to be aligned to long-term
Yep.
sustainability. You have to not have perverse thoughts, so if you're still hooked on porn and like um I don't want to say violent inducing things, but like confrontational social uh,
I
norms. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
we should be at a point where like I can like sit down with you and like we literally can like make almost gestures and like we know what we're talking about. And
Right.
I think that's probably how most of like the tribes that still exist, like that's probably they probably surely have sounds and language, but I doubt they rely on that as their like like social norm
Right.
like we do, where it's like, oh, there's silence, I gotta fill it with something, and you have to play the social game and stuff. But I really like that
Yeah. Yeah.
idea. It's
A lot
like
of tribes too, they just have you see a lot of just sounds instead of trying to form a specific choppy word.
right.
It's more of a woo. They use they just use sounds more of like nature uses them. Like when you listen to the birds sing, you listen to just different animals communicate. It's a lot different than the way we communicate. They're singing almost.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and they
I
definitely
don't.
communicate too. Like even the bugs. Like I remember listening to cicadas one night. I swear it was hilarious. There was like three of
Yeah.
them going, and the one was out of sync, and he kept like they kept trying to sync up, and they'd even do like the like a classic gag where they're like, you know, e e e e, and then they stop because they're
Yeah.
like, hey dude, like you're not on sync, and then they finally got in sync. I was like, man, that's communication, that's intelligence. That I mean,
That is
you could,
super intelligent.
yeah. In
Yeah,
the
I think we're dormant in that realm. Like when you look at nature, I mean, everything's kind of connected in its interspecies network, but when you get
hmm
to us, they've infiltrated our interspecies network and they've got us all divided. So now we look at each other in separation and division instead of harmony and instead of, likes and similarities. I don't know. People don't look at each other and say, "Oh, that person's a father just like I'm a father. There's a similarity. We're both fathers." They look at something different, where, oh, that person lives over here in this country or that person's poor. This means that and that. And they look at
right,
differences. So, it's a the way that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. They've fucked up our view or our perception of everything. They've made us look a certain way. Both on both sides. They've made us view things in a certain flavor, and then they've also made us expect certain appearances as well.
yeah,
Like so when I mean it's like it just sucks, man, and we've got to get off their fucking drug, man. It's people have to be excited about the unique things that they brought from the cosmos here to share with the all. I mean, this is like a crossroads or a meeting ground where or like a big exhibit. Why do you think all those big exhibits used to exist everywhere? It's because it's like it's as above, so below. This place in itself is a big fucking exhibit. It's a big St. Louis fair. It's where you come to look at all the different things in the universe, all the different technologies should be able to be here. There should be areas of simplicity and harmony and nature. There probably should still be areas of turmoil and whatever. I
yeah,
mean, it's supposed to, and in terms of think of a seed, think of a place that hasn't really moved yet, but it thinks it's moving. So it's just building its patterns. It's setting up its blueprint on how it's going to move when it goes to move. And that's pretty much, you don't want to have any, I mean, you want to maybe have a good overall direction, but you want a nice spiral swirl on your way up to get a full view, a 360 view the whole time, all the way around. Um, so I mean, it's, people really want to shut out the dark forces and the black, and it's just
Right.
something that you are, and it's just another aspect of light doing something different. So it's your nature to figure that out and to understand it and to become it. And then you can further find that part of yourself that is the black that contains the light. I mean, the whole nature of black is to consume light and to hold light inside and to not emit any light, but just to hold it in. And you have so much black, so much space. You've created so much space that you can't see it from a distance. It's surrounded by black. It's you have to go deep inside the self, just like at the bottom of the ocean, and then you see these little fish floating around that brought their own light. And that's what we're learning how to
Right.
do, is how to generate and carry your own light. How to have the original germ, the original fungus growing in the cave. I mean, once you know how to manifest something from nothing, you're the creator. You've become a real creator. You can take nothing and you've made something, and that's a miracle in itself. So I mean, that's really what we're learning to do, carrying the light inside. I mean, we're learning to tame the black forces, and the black things can reflect off of it to yourself, and it can be very scary. People have a lot of
Hmm.
skeletons in their closet, where we live in a time when the skeletons are going to come out of everybody's closets, and we're going to pretty much look at them all, and people are going to see each other's auras, and it's all going to be very different. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's we're going to be hopefully shifting pretty fast now from we're going to have our big whatever event, that causes the switch. And whatever
Yeah.
that event is, from
Unfortunate.
there on, will be, we won't turn back. There won't be any room to, there won't be an option. It'll be a one-way street,
Mm.
which a long time needed. I mean, you can go back, but by going back and doing these other things, you
Yeah.
instantly, it's now you're going to have to be part of not the mass consciousness is going to shift. That's what's going to shift. That's the thing that's picking the new direction. So, there'll still be that minority consciousness here. It's always going to be here, but there'll be small pockets, and they'll get pushed out to the corners, and eventually they'll extinguish themselves out from infighting and whatnot.
You know,
Um,
I you remember that Agar EO game that I showed you guys?
Remind me real quick. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's
I
the
think
game
so.
where you basically eat the other orbs and then you get strong, or well, not stronger, but you get bigger.
Yeah,
And it's like, dude, that's exactly how I see all of it.
yeah,
So you've got, you're gonna have your main culture, which is the big one, right? It's slow, it's sluggish, but it's powerful because it's got a lot of, density and mass. And then
right, right.
you've always got new ones popping into the existence, and gaining momentum, gaining density, eating things. That's
Yep,
exactly how I
yep.
see it. It is, you just like map that to like a human aura, even, or
Right.
uh,
It really is like you can, like you said, I picture a big, dense ego aura just sucking in all the energy of a room, has to have all the attention, and and
yeah.
then when it leaves the room, everybody kind of has a breath of relief, and I don't know, man. It's absolutely that way for sure, dude. That density will pull stuff in like crazy. Like that's what the black hole is this big dense pocket of blackness. And it eats. It's like a desire blackness that just eats and eats. And it's it probably doesn't know what it has inside. It's not watching what it eats, and you are what you eat. So that could
Hmm.
be a dangerous thing. But and then think of the beings that, in terms of even just not eating a lot, period. If shit hits the fan, they don't need a ton of food. They're used to going periods already with not eating meals. It's just they haven't put food at the forefront of their existence. So it's just something that's almost like a burden to them. Like, oh shit, I got to go put food in my thing again.
That's how I
You
feel.
know, me too.
I
That's
get tired of
exactly
eating.
right. I mean, oh fuck, didn't I just do this yesterday?
Right. I eat like once a day too. Well, I mean, maybe like once and a half, but like,
Yeah, I'm
God, I
about
just get
there. Like,
bored.
I have a big dinner, like just a really big dinner, and in health wise, like I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I know
Hmm.
worrying about it is not healthy, so I just
Right.
fucking smile and do whatever feels appropriate.
Right.
As long, it's not always about do what feels good, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Balance.
I know that if I just start eating a lot for no reason, I won't feel that great, and I'll feel kind of sluggish and just like I gotta go sit on the toilet. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have such a fast digestive system where I don't need to be on the toilet any more than I already am.
Yeah,
That's
what's weird
all I
with
need.
me is if I start working out and like running like a lot, dude, I literally
Mhm.
cannot fill my system. I'll eat everything I have, and it's
Yeah,
like I'll
me.
still be hungry, and I'm like, well, this is stupid then. Like, I don't know if I need to even do this.
I hit that too. I hit that absolute same thing where I can eat massive amounts. Like I won't gain any weight. I won't like. I won't really get that full. Like I can just keep putting it in, and yeah, or I can go the opposite, not eat that much, and it's neat, man. The body's an interesting system, the way it holds weight and density. Like, because I know that for the amount of calories I can eat and I have before, that if other people did that, they would be huge.
Yeah,
And I know that it processes through me very fast. Like, I don't
yeah.
know if I like, for example, I had a lot of the hot sauce on my pizza yesterday, and sure enough, the next day you notice it. So I mean, things move through the system quick. I mean, it's
How long
at
have you
least
been
with
eating
me.
hot sauce though?
Oh, a while,
Okay.
but that was I hadn't had any maybe a week, so I mean, I knew
Yeah,
it was from right there.
yeah,
But things just flow through me quick, man. I mean, I don't hang on to a lot of stuff like, oh, we don't need this, we don't need that. Did you give us any real food?
yeah.
Okay, we'll take these couple things right here. Good job, Pete.
I
All
think
right,
it
the rest
needs.
of this shit, get it out of here.
You know, it's interesting because we're talking about quality and quantity, and that's a huge thing I've noticed with food is like I can't eat fast food. Like I don't even eat Chipotle. I used to eat that like religiously, and I don't even
Yeah,
eat that anymore because I make
I
my
don't
own
either.
food not
Nothing.
mostly all the time. And the only food I really go out to buy is like tacos and Indian food, which is stuff
That's
I
funny, dude. Me
yeah,
too. I go out like I'll get a taco. That's the last kind of pretty much fast food thing I should be getting that I get
yeah,
sometimes is that like a vegetarian taco thing somewhere.
yeah.
There's a mom and pop like Mexican burrito place, and they make a real bomb one with avocado and
Nice.
pico on it.
Oh
So I
my
mean,
God, yes.
yeah, but I hear you. If you put quality food
Yeah.
inside of you, you get more of a satisfaction. Like you get more energy. Like I hate the weak feeling that you get. So like if you're to eat like a
Yeah.
salad
A
or to put some
cheeseburger.
real shit in you, yeah, you're not gonna fill yourself up really if you put crap in you. But if you put a little bit of something that's decent for you, you're gonna feel great, you know. And I'm
Yeah.
all about I really want to feel good. Like I want my food to be something that, lifts me up and is
Yeah.
makes me feel better and gives me vitality. And
Yeah.
there's a big debate too with living food versus dead food. Like I guess when you cook your food, you're putting dead food in you. And
Yeah.
we're living beings, so I mean the more living stuff like leafy green stuff and like roots and stuff that you can put in you, they're all the stuff in them is alive still, so your body can actually use the living ingredients, so it can build a living temple.
Right.
I'm bad with it, man. I feed myself a lot of dead food. I mean, I really do.
Yeah. I
I
still
tr
eat meat.
I try to mix in a lot of living food too, so
I think it's
I need to
fine. I
get
think
better
it's
at it.
about the quality though. Like if you're eating so like I worked at a restaurant for 5 years and the quality of meat, you wouldn't believe how much of a difference that makes if you don't
Hmm.
really pay attention. But we used to, one time I remember specifically, it was kind of funny. We ordered a higher quality steak for our cheesesteak sandwiches. Dude, they
Hmm.
sold out in like a day, like a whole thing of meat.
Damn.
And like, then they didn't buy it again, which is kind of crazy because I don't know, like, why wouldn't you want to keep making money? But they went back
Right?
to like the lower grade meat, and that was when I learned about like the different. They have like either like rated like A, B, C,
Oh
D,
yeah,
and
different
so
cuts too. Yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
the like a New York cut is real lean and good meat, and then like a ribeye is going to be another good cut, but it's a little more fatty. And then you got your prime rib sections, where you can make a Philly cheesesteak with the prime rib meat, and that's real awesome. I mean, it's tasty. It's just a tastier meat. I worked the same thing, like probably 5 6 years at restaurants, a steakhouse, a Mediterranean place, and then a barbecue place,
yeah,
and then an Irish pub bar. And
nice.
it was, dude, I loved it. I loved cooking. Like, and then the best people in the place got to cook the steaks and shit because they didn't want to fuck those up, and those cost the
Yep.
most money.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, like you said, man, it matters. Like, and you'll see a big price difference on them too sometimes too. But yeah, it's a big taste difference. And the Kobe beef, you get the shit that's been massaged, all grass fed stuff.
I don't think I've ever had that. That's some
I've
luxury
had it a
stuff.
couple times, man. It was
Yeah.
like a $40 steak. Somebody took me
Oof.
out to a fancy place, and
Nice.
they were paying and everything. And I remember I got lima beans too with it because I was like, man, I hate lima beans. I want to see what $20 fucking whatever lima beans are gonna taste like, or however the hell you're. And they were the best lima beans I'd ever had, and I was blown away. I was like, well, fuck.
Are you anti bean? I know some people are like they just hate beans.
I love beans. Lima beans,
Okay.
the only bean like I'm just not crazy about,
Yeah.
and that's the only reason I got it there was I was like, man, if they can make lima beans, awesome. I'd like to see that. And I remember getting them, and they were just awesome. The way that they like blanded them open, and I don't know
Wow.
what they did to them, but they actually had a little bit of a crunch inside of them, and they were fucking, of course, buttered and salted and a bunch of other spices, and it was yummy.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, of course, that's what you get when you're getting $100 meal. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to blow you away. If it didn't, you'd be like, what the fuck? I ain't coming back here.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, man, quality. I got a huge Venus in my chart. Venus is out of bounds, and it's elevated above all the other shit. So and it's in the house of death. It's in the eighth house up there. It's sitting like 24 degrees north too. So it's deep in the black. It really wants to like, sense everything and get the play with quality. It likes to measure. It likes to, yeah, that is a little bit better than that. It just enjoys it. And it's part of my, Libra ascendant with Saturn right there and Pluto.
Mm.
I've got pretty much, Libra's ruled by Venus and its night sign, and that's when it puts everything away and it organizes everything. So it's a very qualitative area, it really is. That's why art's right there, and balance. It's the counterweight on the wheel. Never forget, Josh told me that it's that little counterweight that they stick on the wheel to make it spin perfectly. You need that qualitative spot, you need that, which is actually a quantitative amount in it too. So it's kind of neat. There's a lot of quantitative in that wheel balancing thing as well.
So Flight Risk has a great comment.
What you got?
She says, "Hello all, heart. Unless you are drinking
Oh,
alcohol, then you are able to hold plenty of weight!" Exclamation times three.
nice,
I feel
nice.
that totally. I don't
Yeah,
drink at all. I mean, I used to drink, but I still didn't have the weight issues. But I was playing frisbee and like sprinting for years, so like you
right.
know,
Same thing. But I did notice when I stopped drinking because I was like a 3 to 4 beer night type person. I really enjoyed it, and then
yeah.
I didn't end up stopping for my desire reasons. I stopped because it was fucking with my stomach.
Mm,
I stopped for health purposes just, and then once I stopped putting alcohol in my stomach, I noticed my gut mind got a lot stronger. My stomach, once I was able to get my grounding in my stomach a lot better, my whole fucking life improved. And it's been 3 years. Well, this October will be 3 years since I've even had a sip. And then before that October, I had only had that, 1 week on a vacation, and I had tequila, so it wasn't. And I actually did have a Corona, and it made my stomach so sick. But the tequila didn't hurt it that bad, and I think that might be because it's more of a natural process in a cactus or something. But yeah, I lost 20 pounds when I stopped drinking, just, through a few months, and I've been there since. I've been where I was when I was 18, when I got out of basic training, 163. Just, I don't know what it is, man. I just, up and down, I stay right there. I mean, I run every day, and
I
I eat a
think
lot
it's
of food, but
willpower, really. I really do.
it's, mm-hmm.
I think you will
Yeah, man.
your body, and then because of our culture, when you have people that are quote unquote overweight, like they're not willing that existence and what it takes to achieve that. But it's also becoming culturally sanctioned, so it's like, well,
Right.
okay, you're not healthy though. I mean, I see it too as an esoteric density thing too. Like, I think
Yeah,
a
and I
lot of
think that's
people,
what flight risk was getting to, was the
yeah,
esoteric part of it. Yeah,
yeah,
totally, totally.
yeah, alcohol. I mean, it's cool. I'm a one and done rule now because I just don't. I hate the feeling, so I can't.
Yeah,
I have to. I don't want to
yep,
do it, and I don't. It's just like culturally it gets difficult. But I'm at a point now. I'm just like I can live by that rule and like one and done, and like I think
right.
it's honestly I probably totaled at most like 10 drinks over the last like year and a half. I think so. I'm feeling
Hmm.
pretty good about that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's alcohol's a neat thing. I mean, it's been a neat little battle for me in my life, and I just wanted to do something different, and it's everybody I know drinks, so
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's a little awkward in itself. I mean, it brings out a new flavor of your being, that you have to act different socially. You can't just go grab a drink and blend in with that situation anymore. It's going to cause attention, the fact that you're not drinking. So use that energy, benefically. Try to use that as good rippling stones for people, and maybe talk about your enjoyment through it and whatnot. And it is a very much a willpower thing, and it's a way,
yeah,
like, for me now, the willpower part's so easy, because like you said, I just don't really want to feel that way. I don't
yeah,
crave feeling that way. Like, I do have a slight craving in there to, like, go sit up in the Idaho mountains and just have a couple beers by the creek and just watch the
sure,
birds. I mean, that sounds kind of peaceful to me in a way. But, like, just in my daily life setting at home, and I just don't crave it anymore. Like, I don't know, man. And if I did, I'd probably go out and play with that desire, but I literally, that desire has faded so much, and it's a blessing. It's nice. My liver thanks me, I'm sure. Um
yeah, probably.
I still, like, I picked cigars back up, so I mean, I still got things I'm on and off with and playing with, and it is what it is, and we've all got our issues, but alcohol's a big thing, man. It's a powerful substance in this world that I feel like they use to keep a thumb over us, and
Yeah,
it's it can really keep us locked in a certain mass consciousness setting. And I don't know, man, I just wanted to do something different.
I
And
would say,
especially for the conjunction, like the Saturn Jupiter conjunction we just went through. It was a big sacrifice on the sacrificial table for that as well. I said, we're going to do it the year before, the year of, and the year after at least,
uh,
and then I'll reassess drinking from there, see what I feel about it you
yeah,
know
yeah, I
and
don't. Hmm.
and it's been fun. I think if I go back to it, it's just gonna be real gentle.
Yeah,
I'm
one and
not
done,
gonna,
baby.
because mhm,
It's a good rule.
because I mean, like, there's certain situations in life where I feel like a drink or two, like, could really add a lot of good things to a situation.
Sure.
So I mean, like, for example, I got a buddy. He's in a band, and he's got a couple shows coming up in June, and it would be cool to go check him out, and it would be cool to have a beer watching the show or something. And just the whole qualia or feeling of the experience, to me, like, that's the kind of the moment I'm looking for. I would still enjoy it, I think, without a drink, definitely, but in order to touch the peak for me, like what I'm trying to feel and sense, like, I think for me, it might have a beer in my hand. So, like, I'm not totally opposed to it. I
Yeah.
really select my events now, I think, and I haven't had many opportunities or events lately to do things like that. I mean, I'm sure I could have found some, but it just, like
Yeah.
like I said, I haven't been craving it.
Yeah.
So.
It's all about balance. It just
Mhm.
goes back to that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it really does. And it wasn't balanced before. My whole life revolved around I can't go do anything tonight because I'm not going to drink and drive, and I want to have a few beers.
Yeah,
So I'd always be in the house by 5 or so, and that's just the way it was. And it kind
yeah,
of sucked, man. And it was just I was losing that part of my life every day from things I could have been doing, like going over to the swimming hole or going on a hike or going and running some errands or I don't know. So
yeah.
I'm a sucker for time, so I like to use all the time I'm given in the most efficient way possible. And drinking for me was holding me back, and it
Hmm.
was holding my health back, my stomach,
Yeah.
and
Money
and
too.
like I
It's
said,
expensive to drink if you live in the city, man. It's probably higher now, but when I was drinking, it
yeah,
was
that's true.
$6 to $7 for a beer.
6 pack, all the beer, shit, yeah,
And six pack's
yeah.
usually
Even a
ten
good
bucks
sixer,
here.
you're gonna spend $10 a day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
So
used to drink. I would drink a whole 6 pack a night, and like then
yeah,
I
like an
mean,
IPA
weed
or
saved me. Weed got me out of that
yeah, I know.
spell. Holy
Me too,
heck!
man.
I'd
Me
for
too.
sure probably be either some sort of trouble in some way or health trouble because I just that was the only for me that was the only uh like like physical biophysical esoteric a little escape, because I didn't do
Yeah,
weed, and the only time I had tried it was in college, and like I just didn't, I just spaced out. I didn't
right,
know. I didn't find any deeper meaning until a few years ago.
right.
So
And look at that chart you posted this week with the moon
oh
and all the vertices. I mean, that's a weed leaf right there. It shows you the whole design of our system where the node is on our system. It's an exact replica of a fucking pot leaf, man. I mean, that shows you
right,
right there why we have certain receptors in us built in a certain way. I mean, that plant in itself is very much a huge aspect of this kingdom. I mean, whatever secrets are, I think things are just stored massively in there. It is a gateway drug. I mean, it does open you up. Like it makes you see things from all points of view. It doesn't lock you into one certain frame of reference at all. It's a creative perception that you're in. I don't know, man. It's beautiful.
yeah.
It's when you posted that picture, I was blown away. I was like, man, that's it right there. And that shows you the spacing. It just shows you everything in that image. It shows you why certain signs move fast and slow. I mean, it's all right there in that one image. It's pretty interesting, man.
Yeah, I ordered the book, so I also asked if he would get on the podcast. I don't know if he wants to, maybe privacy issues or something, but if I don't know who it is. It's
That
just
would be
called Vibes
awesome.
of Cosmos. But there's
What's the
also
book?
so the pictures I posted are from the book, and uh,
Oh wow.
it's
Does
basically
he go into that? Does he go into the pot plant design right there?
no. I think that's a you discovery, my friend.
Oh Jesus! I mean, that's isn't that obvious though? It's the
Yeah,
same exact.
it is. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, because I recognized the shape, and I was like, this seems interesting. Um,
Right.
and I
I
know,
mean, that's crazy.
right? I can't rotate the
Yeah,
image.
because it's got everything in a perfect spot too. I'm trying to see where you ended up. There it is. Yeah, because I mean, and then it shows you if you overlay that on the moon, and if the moon is showing an image of the lands, it shows you where we are. Like, and this puts me born in New Hampshire. It puts the ascendant line of our system on the spot I was born, and I have Saturn right there. So I have Saturn on not only my ascendant, but the ascendant of the system. With the signs are in a different spot, but it's so weird. Like we're in the Pisces area in the 12th house where America is right there. We're
Yeah,
right we're right above we're pretty much in the 12th house right above the ascendant. So and we just came into visible nature. So it's really I mean that's dead on right there. Um
yeah,
and it shows you the most ominous position is the northwest position, of course. right at the fall down there, and that's dead on too. And Virgo is the biggest area of space, and that shows you right there on the ascendant. That's why they have July 31st and August 31st, 231 days there. That's the slowest movement of the year right there, and its opposite is the quickest, which is going to be right over there, Aries and Pisces area, where time moves the fastest. And that's why you have a quick month with February. It's always like 28 days. They're hiding the quick time right there, and they're hiding the slow time on the opposite area.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
why. And then you've got the days of balance. Of course, on the equinoxes is what they say, but time is not balanced right there. Time is balanced on the solstices. Light, it's you're looking at space and light being balanced on those two areas right there. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
So time flows evenly. You get a correct 30 degrees on the solstices. So when you hit December and June, you're getting into the times where 30 days on the sun equals 30 degrees on the zodiac. So you're getting into an even time clock right there, and you get distorted out on the edges.
yeah, I see that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
I think this map's gonna change. I think this revelation is it. Like, I don't see how, like, I personally don't see how the world, like, the globe stuff. Like, I hate to be the bearer of
right,
news if
right,
you're still not there. Like, that model of reality sucks. Like, you want to get off that model of reality. Like, it sucks. You're literally
right,
a
right.
wet
Well,
marble
the fact that
hurling through.
they can't
Yeah,
show you a picture of it, with all their, is just a dead giveaway. So I
yeah,
think what it is, it's like a flashlight shining down on a table.
yeah.
You've got a viewable circle, a 2D plane where light thinks it's moving around, but it's just staying in one spot visible where everything else is actually moving around it. We're learning to move here. This is where you learn what's in Pandora's box and what you let out of the box, like we've said. So this is very much, and that's showing you that. See how that center point is headed towards the winter solstice. That shows you where the top of the mountain is right now. I think that's the fall of man. When you put so the pot leaf in itself, when it starts growing correctly, not on a wristy or a rasta cross, but on a true centered cross in the middle. When that point moves to the center, where the true center should be in spirit, just like the symbol of the sun, I think that's the true, not fall state of man when we're in our true etheric nature.
Hmm.
The pyramid, the fire up the middle. Right now it's off centered. So it shows you this heavenly plant is off centered too as it grows. So it's kind of like the pot plant has the design of our system on each leaf too, and it shows you where you're at. So this is the way the magnetics are coming in our system right now. Of course, pot's a very magnetic plant with all those magnetic electric hairs growing off it and shit, all the
Right.
colors, spectrums. So this is a very big indicator on the map of our system right now. And you can always know where you are based upon the way things are growing, especially the pot plant, namely. Even the oak leaf and the maple leaf, look at their vertices where they stem out on their branches. It's not centered, it's not in the middle, it's different. It's down right near the stem, just like this is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why the fourth house is down on the stem, the winter solstice. That's the wood. That's what gets you through the winter is the wood. Light absorbs into the bark and the root system. And then the summer solstice has the peak leaf. Those are all the veins of the leaf right there. So the leaf folds up in symmetry on each side of that summer solstice line, and that's the height of light. You only get those leaves on the plant when you're in the summer, when it's full in its full spectrum. It's got 9 veins on it then it goes like 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 on the maturity of it. So
Hmm.
it's pretty neat. hmm
Yeah.
And the other one you posted too is awesome with Uranus. Shows you the ceilings and the
Yep.
cubes, and you can see the way the circle and the square tie into each other on each realm on that too, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, he has a video about this too, where he shows you how. So you basically perceive it from like you're looking in a hole almost, and you like as you go up, it's pretty cool. It
Yeah,
makes it
man.
makes the world even though it makes the existence that's probably I think the best word right now. But it makes the existence look incredibly massive, of course. But at the same
Right.
time, it's not intimidating the globe, which is like you can just die at any moment for no reason, and none of this matters, and you're insignificant. Like
Right.
that's all it boils down to all the time. Doesn't matter how they try to spin it. It's always you're insignificant. Shut up. But like this is like,
Yeah.
oh, look at the majesty of this being that we are all participating within, and it's massive, and yet it's like it's not for naught. You're not just here randomly.
Right.
It's great.
That might show you too why the pot plant is so connected to the moon connected to the earth, the
Mm,
soma, and you're looking when you look at the moon, you're looking at the life circle, the circle of life. Everything in the moon's image has life in it. So all those lands there on the that you can see in the moon's image are potential areas that can grow things. If you're not in that image, and that's why they studied in ancient cultures so importantly the moon's nodal systems, so they studied how far north the new moon would rise and how far south the new moon would rise, and they would get the bandwidth there. That would show them the full spectrum of where life went on its extremes and whatnot, and then its center that always had its like the circumpolar stars,
mm,
and then the circumpolar areas of the earth are the areas where you always have pretty much the mind in. So the mind is the bringer of life, and you're always going to have life in that area no matter what happens. But the areas that are on the fringes, on the extremes of the moon's nodal rises and settings, those are going to be the new areas of life where kind of there's life getting shot in, and then there's no life in there for a while. It's in the darkness. Those are the things kind of that go bump in the night that are taking some of the life, and then the life force goes away. And if they can hold on to the life force while the life force is away, they can retain the life, and then they can get reboosted when it comes back. So the moon is very much a map of the book of life. If you want to be in the book of life, you want to be, pretty much, if you want to matter, you want to use this as a guide right here. And it shows you the concentric circles from the north right there going out. Those are the different frequencies of life. So you've got a very, dense life aspect right up there, and what we call our magnetic north pole. And those are areas of deep polarity up there. That's why you find like all the super dense magnetic rocks and the lodestones and whatnot are always of the north.
mm,
These are areas where things don't grow, but at the same time they are life itself almost. So it's like that's the pole of the whole entire system. And as you move out from the pole, you start to get into the coloring of its body,
mm.
and it's like a giant. As you start getting into some leafy stuff and some waters, and you get all the blues and greens and purple, you start getting into all the colors as you go down out from the north pretty much. So the north, that's the particle center of our system. So our entire system, our north is not lined up to the true center right now. You can tell we're to the right a little bit, which would be its left. So the creator's left, our right. So we went into visible matter. The creator's left is visible. That's why in all the old pictures you see everybody hiding their right hand. The right hand is not visible. When I show you my right hand, I'm still showing you something of the left. I'm showing you something in visible matter. This is all of the left. When I hide my hand behind my back, you can see that my right hand is hidden and that my left hand is seen. This is showing you the true nature of the right and the left, that the right is the unseen and the left is the seen. So it's pretty much showing you right here that we've bounced away from the center and into the left, into visible matter. And it's even created on the moon all this visible white stuff. I imagine if you had the Vertus move back to the center, it would be the black moon and the white sun, or the black sun and the white moon. It could be, either or. So it's a beautiful system, man.
Yeah,
Shows the time zones too. Yeah, it's nuts.
it's so much more grounding too. Like you're not. I don't know. When I used the globe to sort of put myself into a world, I was like, well, this sucks. Like, and then it just like it limits your potentiality so much. I mean, so much. And then
Right.
this map also makes me go, oh well, then the Smoky God 100%, Vril Power of the Chimera 100%. Like what?
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Look how big this place is. It's massive. You can go be an explorer again. Like
I know.
this changes everything, and it for the
That's my
better.
dream,
You
dude.
know.
That is my dream to have a boat and to just. I want a boat that can fucking be on the water and can go up in the air, and I can explore both the
That'd be
sky and the
cool.
sea, man.
That's probably how it
Right.
was too. There's a couple games that for they kind of show stuff like that. Flying boats, zeppelins. Albert Rabida does a ton of artwork, and he's from the 1800s, which is that mysterious time period where
Yeah,
everything's
steampunk
overlaid.
era, every. Yep.
He's drawing
I love it.
giants interacting with people in the cities that are dressed just like the Renaissance time or like
Wow.
colonialism. He's drawing zeppelins that are like stopping at buildings to like recharge. It looks like,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
this illustrator from the 1800s is drawing what he thinks the future's like. It's like, nah, that's how it
No,
is outside of this North Korea bubble we're in right now.
I know it. It's what it is. Like you said, they give us these models to keep us in the bubble. And, it
Yo.
keeps all you have to do is trap the mind. I mean, the best kind of prison is a population that doesn't know they're in prison. Then they
Right.
wouldn't try to escape, right? I mean, that's the best kind right there is the ones that don't know that they're in prison. And that's exactly what we have right here. And it is. I mean, and that's one of the things that marijuana does. It gets you out of that prison a little bit. It
Yeah.
starts letting you see things to their true nature. It connects you to the true nature of the system. So, and it's yeah, I mean, I wonder if that model, if you were to even take it in circuitry and place a north nodal magnet in the center of a circle at that angle right there at that position, and then run certain, capacitors and whatnot to simulate the sine wave on the outer edge, and then run a current clockwise around it. I mean, you're pretty
Hmm.
much looking at our system right there.
Yeah.
And I imagine in the future, we end up discovering, that yes, the moon is a reflection of our system. So we can use this reflection to know our system. And thus, once we know our system, we can know how everything operates in it because this is the base electromagnetic paradigm that we're looking at. We're looking at the map pretty much. So if you use that
Yeah.
map, and then and I think that's why you see things when you read the stories in the late 1800s when all these like zeppelin sightings and weird UFO like things were in the sky a lot over America. I think they were using during certain cycles of the moon or just certain aspects of pretty much astronomy. They knew certain vibrations and certain frequencies were present that they could tap into. And this was all just part of normal knowledge back in the day. And what you were seeing right there was the dying out of it or the last goodbye kind of, hey, look, we're not going to be able to come for a while because you guys invent the plane and all this shit coming up, and we're gonna have to go back to the lost tribes of the north pretty much up here while you guys fight it out and do your thing, and then
Yeah.
we'll come check in on you once you guys get through your division. um, I think that's could have been when they attacked everything. There was some huge war that we're not told about, and all of the infrastructure, all the systems got taken down. And, all the stories of Atlantis and Lemuria, these could all be a lot closer in our past than we think. I mean, if you look at all the medieval maps, you see America in so many different shapes because of the way the water was moving and rivers were going in different ways. I mean, we had rivers going from the Great Lakes all the way to San Francisco at one point in the near past. I mean, that tells me the Rockies weren't there. I mean, there's just so many things that then you go back a little further, and the only thing visible is like parts of Kentucky that are islands, and it looks like just the Caribbean. And it's I don't know, man. It's all so convoluted that you got to start from scratch because how do you know what time frame you're in now? We're in such a like the whole orphan train thing. I mean, they literally just repopulated the place they took over. They come up with a bunch of stories, to hide the true narrative, and it's kind of like the good old boys club. The people that got in first and the families that went along with the narrative
Right.
got to control all the infrastructure. And, we've come up with government, state, and then all the first presidents, Washington, Jefferson, all of them are all names that were in the past here, and they just used some cover story. And that gave us all our infrastructure that we have in all the cities. And then they just reintroduced the people once the story was already there. I mean, it's just
It's goofy.
it's like a script, man. It's
Yeah.
fucking really goofy,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's a sense of realness to it all. Like you sit down, you can touch the grass, something is still alive and well. There's a trick going on. They're trying to trick us. There's something still here. There's light qualities still here that we're meant to protect and to be in and to be stewards of. And they're trying to get us to do something to our own light qualities is what they're trying to do, because we're the only most powerful things in the universe that can actually affect the change and cause the movement and to let things in and out of the box or to put them back in.
Hmm.
So, I mean, once you leave here, determinism is set up, and whatever you've built, your light reflects off into those codes and those angles and whatnot, depending upon the desire system that you've built here. So, it's very much some kind of trap to get a hold of the blueprint system here. And if they can get a hold of this system, they can rewrite the script how they want to write it, which is what they're trying to do. And now the playoff here is if they fail, we become much stronger. So
When they
tricks
fail.
like when they fail, right? I like that better. When they fail, we become much stronger along the way, and tricks like this will never get us again. They'll have to come up with something even more
Yep.
trickier to get us,
Yep.
and it will be beautiful. It's just a constant cat and mouse game that seems like that we're playing.
That's
Just a
when you
back and
do
forth.
magic, or if you're involved in magic like illusions or whatnot. Once you know how the trick's done, uh, it's not magic.
Right, right. It's not magic anymore. I know
Yeah.
it.
And once you
And
see a
that's the
lot of
thing.
that, you see how tricks are done. And then when you learn language, you can see how language, especially with culture, is they trick you. They want you to say things that
Yeah.
you feel good about it, but you're saying the wrong thing. You're actually practicing black magic. That's what a lot of shit is. And
Right,
Dude,
right.
that's
It's that
that's
spelling
totally
system.
sick, man.
hey, Stellium,
Hey, what's
Hey
up, Mike?
guys.
Hey,
hey
what are you
man.
up to, brother?
Nice to hear your voices. It's been a while.
Yeah, man.
I'm
What are you getting into today?
I'm actually in a river bottom right now looking for some prime specimens because I got a wonderful surprise email from a guy in Santa Fe, New Mexico who came across my videos from a friend of his, and he's offered to pay for shipping and lab analysis of some of these heart stones to find
No
out what
way.
their constituent components are. Yeah, so I'm hesitant to send the best ones I have. I mean, I have a ton, but
Yeah,
there are
you do.
Right,
certain
right.
ones that are the absolute undeniable ones that have, tons of features, and I'm real
Like
hesitant
a
to send those
valve and
off.
stuff
So
going.
so I'm
Yeah.
more hoping for some kind of cosmic inspiration that's going to cause me to come across some that are just right to send to him.
Ooh,
That's awesome,
we'll draw
man.
you a card, dude. Hey, let me introduce you real quick because we're actually streaming this live right now.
Oh, you are.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
so,
welcome in.
Here I come
why don't
interrupting
you,
things.
why don't you introduce yourself, everybody? This is Stellium 7.
um,
Absolutely.
the
Yes,
name is the name is the name is Mike.
Or Mike.
yeah. Mike, tell us a little bit about because a lot of people they probably if they're tuning in, I mean, we don't have a huge audience, but just give them a little background on kind of your line of work, your line of research and whatnot. I think people might have got obviously a little idea right there, but it's some very interesting stuff. The heliacal heart stuff. I mean, it's all tying into the true nature of this realm, and the petrified hearts that we're finding everywhere. I mean, it's no coincidence. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself,
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, you asked you said work. I work as a chiropractor, and a few years back I was looking into alternative geology. different theories out there like mud fossils and
Sure.
just the idea that the physical world might not be exactly as we were told, not just when it
Right.
comes to things like the shape of the earth, but lots of different aspects. And so initially that caused me to start looking at a mountain here in Spain where I live with different eyes, because it looks a tremendous amount like an elephant, which I always assumed was pareidolia, where it's just it just has the resemblance. It's not
Right. Or you can
really
see.
it's not really an elephant. That would be stupid to believe something that ridiculous, right?
Right.
And and so I yeah, first was the mud fossil thing, and then I saw some different videos where people were talking about titans, and one in particular called petrified titans, where they were kind of blending mythology with history with religion, and looking at it from a mud fossil perspective, and the idea that flesh could petrify in a much shorter period of time than we were originally led to
Right.
believe, and that I mean, we're taught that they can find the skeletons because those are all hard, but
Right.
soft tissue only in the rarest of cases will petrify, because usually it'll be eaten away by bacteria and larvae long before it could
Right.
ever undergo the petrification process. So that was kind of um, a series of ideas that I hadn't come across. And this mountain, it doesn't just look like an elephant from one angle, it looks like an elephant from a lot of different angles. And there's also a cave exactly where an eye should be. And I'd been at that cave at many occasions. And it's a very, very unusual cave that has all kinds of different channels going back in different directions, and
Wow.
uh, very interesting outcroppings of rock that I was already puzzling over from, before I came across these alternative ideas. Like, how the
Right.
heck could this have formed? It didn't make sense. Like, okay, this is gonna be eroded, in some way under the sea floor or through water erosion or something, and then the mountain is going to be pushed up by tectonic activity. But at the same time, this whole cave is going to remain completely, unbroken and perfectly
Right.
smooth. And there were just so many mysteries already, even before I came across these alternative ideas. And
Right.
so that then I got on Google Earth and started looking at the mountain from all sorts of different angles, because you can tilt it and see in 3D very, very nicely. And this is a touristy area, so the resolution was fantastic. Um,
Nice. So you
and
had many,
and
many
yeah,
options.
yeah. So right off the bat, that first time when I kind of was like, "What? No way!" I got on Google Earth, and I had already spotted about 10 different anatomical correlations with macroanatomy of an elephant, and the eye just being one of those 10. There's a big
Right.
there's a big crevice between the legs where I'd hiked up multiple times, and the head shape is right, and it just, you know, it's
Yeah,
really an
you hit a
absurd
point where
idea.
the coincidences, it just you move past coincidences into like, man, this is unbelievable. Look at this. I mean, if this
Yeah,
is right, this should be over here. And wow, what do you know? Here it is. And I
right.
mean, you
Yeah,
you
exactly. And
start to
that's
hit
what
these
that kept
paradigms.
happening to me over and over again. And it wasn't that I was like, oh, I want this to fit with my silly idea, and I'm looking for
Right.
ways to try and it was more like, okay, well, if it's true, then I should be able to find this. And then I went and looked, and that was there. And that was, that
Right.
happened a bunch of times. So I got the idea that, because I'm a chiropractor and I studied a lot of anatomy, I was aware that the skull bones of most vertebrates are very similar. We have
Right.
different morphology as far as the shape, but the bone structure is very similar, and the number of
Right.
bones. And so the eye socket is made up of like 7 different bones, and they meet in different places called sutures. And then you have fissures where the optic nerve and the blood vessels go. And so I decided I was going to get out my anatomy books and get online and see if I could find some 3D rendering, which I wasn't able to find with elephants, but I was able to find somebody filming an elephant skull in 3D, so they're going around it. So I wasn't able to get 3D rendering, but I was able to see a 3D video
Right.
and get a very good look into the eye socket of an elephant from a lot of different directions. So I had a list of about 10 or 15 different things that I would expect to find if I were to go back up there. Um, and I went up and I filmed that experience and took a lot of photographs. And that was the second video that I did on the subject. The first one was called Unveiling a Titan, and it was just that was to the idea, and then the second one was about the eye. And in that 2 hour visit to the cave the second time, I found about 10 anatomical correlations just in the cave. So now it was up to
Jesus.
20, which was and the larger that number got, the less absurd the idea seemed. And
Right. What do we have
so
now tell me what have you is there any kind of conclusion that you've come to into how this I mean, obviously we're dealing with a petrified, whether it's a mammoth or an elephant. I mean, something happened in
right,
this realm to trap the soft tissue in a rare event. Like, have you come to
yeah.
any kind of rendering on what possibly could have happened? Like, how do we explain petrification?
I've had a lot of different theories along the way, and some I've had to discard. And one of those was mud fossil theory, because it made no
Right,
sense that first of all, for a 753-meter mountain to petrify based on mud fossil theory, you'd have to raise the ground to at least 754 meters
right,
and keep that earth there for a very, very long time so that it could paramineralize, which is the process of petrification. And then all of that earth would suddenly have to disappear. So that made no sense to me. And I suspected pretty early on that even though I was on board with the whole idea of mud fossil theory, and that it definitely seemed like biology could petrify in ways that we weren't taught in our school books, I
right.
wasn't convinced at all that that was an explanation for what I was finding. But having said that, I found evidence of a mud flood in this region that reached up to 825 meters minimum,
Wow.
because
Wow.
there's a star fort that's about a 15-mile stone's throw line of sight from Mont Go, which is this elephant mountain. And I
Okay.
say elephant, but I mean it could. I'm confident that it's a vertebrate. Whether it was actually an elephant, some pachyderm or some other creature, I don't know. But it doesn't strike me as something that has an exoskeleton. And in the fourth video, I go through all the tissues of the mountain, and I show how the different rocks on and around the mountain all correspond to the different tissues of a vertebrate. And I go into a great deal of detail with
Wow.
that. But this mountain off in the distance has a star fort sitting at 825 meters, and
Wow.
that star fort is above it is all stone, and below it is like a major drop off. It's sitting on a ledge up there, and it's 2/3 covered in mud. So
Wow.
there's a lot of evidence in the Alicante region of this massive flow that has come through and deposited these like sandy uh, shale kind of real loose earth deposits in what look like big waves. But that's very different from these other mountains, which are limestone. And the
Right.
interesting thing about limestone is that mainstream geology tells us that limestone is composed of coral and skeleton and mollusk and what else? Yeah, basically they're telling us
A lot of
that
silicates,
limestone
yeah.
limestone is bone, is what they're saying. But
Right.
their narrative for bone, uh, for limestone being bone, is sedimentary
turned to
layering.
stone.
In other
The
words,
doctor
all these
died in
creatures die under the seafloor, and then they
Right, on top
pile
of
on
each
top of
other.
each other, and all the pressure from the water is going to, over hundreds of millions of years, compress that into
Limestone.
into a limestone layer. And interesting enough, that's before I came out today and popped in here, I was working on the part 6 video, and I'm one of the big criticisms for my theory that some people have presented has been that, it shows clear signs of sedimentary layering, which is just ridiculous. And that
Right.
was also puzzling to me because I'm like, it doesn't make any sense that this thing would petrify in layers. That, why would that
Right.
happen? And it was
Right.
and it was very confusing because I was finding a large number of anatomical coincidences and finding them, like getting a list of things I'd expect before and then going to look and see if they were there, and they were there. It wasn't the other way around. I found a bunch of wild shit and I had to create this silly theory,
Yeah.
to
Right.
accommodate
Right.
those ideas. I tried to use the scientific method as best I could, and
Correct. Yeah.
when I went back, I was looking at the sedimentary layering. It was confusing to me, and it wasn't until a while later that it occurred to me that, wait a minute, bone, especially skull bones, they have a grain to them and they grow in a particular way. And it turns out that if you do a search for synostosis, you can see that, like, from the fontanella at the top of the skull, basically, as the skull bones are forming, they're
The
forming
fountain.
rings
No
that grow
shit.
outward like rings of a tree. So obviously, if you're looking from above, it's going to look like circles, and if you look from the side, it's
Right.
going to look like straight lines. So the
Yeah.
sedimentary layering thing, it's not a debunk, but the synostosis is also not a proof. So it's just one of those things that it's like it doesn't prove it one way or the other, but it's not a debunk.
Right.
Um,
That's crazy though, with the concentric circles from the fountainhead as kind of how they're forming.
Right. And if
That-
if you've
That's
ever had a kid, when they're first born, those first few weeks before that's
the
sealed
soft
off,
spot.
you can see their brain pulsating through the top of the skull. It's actually very, very soft there because there's no bone yet. It grows in, fills in later. But
Wow.
yeah, and another interesting criticism was that I'm also addressing in this video was the this whole idea that these stones are made of compressed mollusk and shell and these other things, because there was a guy in the Discord last year who had, not only did he have experience studying geology, but he had actually been a field researcher in this region of Spain and had been on a number of mountains and had seen this limestone with his own eyes and had looked at it under microscopes, and he was calling me an idiot basically for believing such a ridiculous thing. And can't you see that there's little bits and pieces of shell and mollusk and different things in the stone? And I was
Right.
I had never I'd never seen any hints of any other creatures, because that would have immediately, in my own eyes, debunked the theory. Um,
Right.
and so I was like, could he be right about that? And so I went back out and was really analyzing these stones, and I couldn't find a trace or hint of anything. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get a microscope. And at first, I got a
Right.
60x microscope, which zoomed in a lot, but there was no hint of any shell, coral, mollusk, anything. And so then I thought, okay,
Right.
he's not gonna be satisfied with 60x. He's gonna he's gonna continue critiquing me. And so I got online and I found a Wi-Fi enabled microscope that you could use with your phone. So instead of having to look through a little viewfinder, you could just use your phone as the viewfinder. It's absolutely amazing.
Okay.
45 euros, 45 euros, and it's capable of 1000x. So
Wow.
I went back out and I was like, okay, this could really, debunk a lot of what I presented, and kind of nervous, but I had to be intellectually honest. And so I
Right.
went out. I went out and I've got all the footage that I'm compiling right now for the video I'm working on.
Nice.
So yeah, that list of coincidences has grown to over 50 now. Um,
Jeez.
And the
Jeez.
question is, how many coincidences does it take before there's an emerging pattern that's beyond just pareidolia
Right.
or somebody's silly pet theory?
A lot,
And
Right.
man. A
obviously,
lot.
if you're a mainstream brainwashed, scientism believer, then no
Right.
number is going to be big enough in your mind. But
Yeah, because
to
you
a
don't want to
rash
lose
to a
those
rational
funds and those
thinker, at some
grants.
right, exactly, the old boys network that is the peer review of science.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Which is
yeah.
you. I mean,
So
it shows you who's doing the real work. I mean, It's obviously there's something going on here that they're not talking about, and you've got people poking around in it that are sensible enough to see something going on and to see the patterns. I mean, we're gonna find them, all the patterns. I mean, that's our job and our nature. I mean, it seems like you've got a massive mud flow. Like we're sitting near like a mud volcano of the north, and it's just every once in a while this thing pops and it sends a mud wave down
Yeah.
from the north that covers stuff. And really, what is this? This might be how we replenish our soil and we can grow food again. Because if you look at the
Yeah.
way that the food stuff goes along, you get sandy deserts when they over, like northern Africa could just be the overused plains that they just used for that whole culture at that time. And same thing with out west. I mean, it's just hard to tell. All I see is sand and depleted soil everywhere. You don't see the
Right.
magnetism part in the soil. You only see the electric output part. So you don't see that receiving, that I don't know, it's almost like in a garnet or something that a magnet will stick to, or some kind of something with a magnetic property. It's like maybe that's what they mine out of this earth. They're trying to take away that anode or that pole. But at the same time, that mud flow, that could be a beautiful thing that's kind of replenishes everything. I mean, I always look at the Great Lakes
Yeah.
system as almost like a fucking cauldron system, and it's like an old cauldron that blew. I just drove up there, drove to the edge of the Great Lakes. That I was sitting at 550 feet right on the edge. Little towns right along it were up around almost 600, and then it dips back down to like 550 for a while, and then it gets up into like 6, 7, 8, 900. It peaks at 1,000 in a place called Lima, Lima, Ohio.
No
Yeah,
way.
Lima, Ohio. Yeah,
That's I
that's
have
where the
friends there.
elevation. So you're in this, it's either you're going to have the bone theory right there where all the bones building from that center out in concentric rings, because I was going on like it felt like concentric circle rings. I would go up over these humps of like 850, 900 feet. There's a one place called Flagstaff, that's at 850, and then the next
Arizona
town up,
or
no, this was no Flag City, Ohio, sorry.
ah,
And then I was like, Flag City, that means where do you put a flag? Up on a hill, blows in the wind, right? So I remember driving past it. And then on the way back, I was like, bam, 850. This is the highest point around. They had all their radio towers, all their 5G crap, all their weird antennas up there. Then it went down another dip for 20, 30 miles. And then Lima hit, and I was up at 900. And as I got out to Kentucky, because I was driving from the Great Lakes to Kentucky, I kept hitting these concentric rings of like 900 feet, except way out, the distances between the rings got more and more. So I had to drive like 100 miles this time to get to the next 900, 1,000 foot area. So it was
yeah.
neat the way that something huge going on.
Well,
It's fucking all.
there's a whole, bunch of people that are researching Titanology from like a almost continent-sized perspective.
Yeah.
There's dragons
I've
that
seen
are
some of them where
thousand
the
miles
head got cut
long, and
off. Yeah, like the old myths tie the real old Native American myths too. They tie into North America was something with its head cut off, and then Europe was the some kind of what was it? I think that was an elephant. The hell was that over there? There
yeah.
was no, it was a
Well,
turtle or something.
there's the classic, the turtle with the four elephants on its back, and then the
Yeah,
disc Earth, enclosed Earth resting on it. If
right,
there's
right.
any truth to
And these
that.
and we're looking at carcasses, just some giant, and that's what heaven is the heave in. You keep heaving in on top of the shit to get above the mud flow, probably. Fuck, man.
Mm.
And
Well,
remember the Atlantic stories
the mud
too?
thing
The
is
muddy
un,
Atlantic.
yeah, the mud flow, and the mud floods are undeniable to anyone who's spent any time really researching it, because you've got the evidence of multiple different ones, depending on how
Right.
far back you go. You've got them in our modern day cities, but then you've got the old evidence of the true megalithic architecture that underwent a major cataclysm that probably involved
Right.
fire, because there's so much that appears to be melted.
There's a lot.
And
Like
here in
candle
this
wax.
region, there's evidence of both volcanic activity on a pretty big scale. All around the Elephant Mountain is volcanic flow. So
Mm.
abandoned the mud fossil theory fairly early on in favor of volcanic theories, because
Mm-hmm.
there are things called pyroclastic flows, which is basically an injection that can come out of a volcano that can move at the speed of sound, and it can be up to 1500 degrees Celsius. So
Holy shit.
that's the kind of thing that could just completely flash, cook something
Yeah.
in a very brief amount of time. And so I was trying to understand, because that ties into the other discovery I made. After I was already doing a bunch of research on the mountain, I started looking at all the rocks differently, because I realized that, wow, a lot of these stones that we see may actually be biological in origin, but not from a sedimentary layering perspective, but actual creatures that existed not so long ago, and petrified in their footprint,
Right.
and so that led me to find this one rock that was it was a heart that is about 4 times the size of a human heart, and I recognized the anatomy right away. It had just at that first glance of looking at it for a couple of minutes, it had about 10 or 12 different anatomical features, including the aorta and the pulmonary artery openings, and even the remains of the papillary muscles which open the valves were there as well, and the overall shape was there, and what's called the pericardium, which is the fatty sac that surrounds the heart, was there, and everywhere that the outer edge of the stone had been worn away, it was revealing the reddish flesh inside. So it was undeniable to me when I saw it. And still there?
Yep. I'm back.
Oh, I just heard somebody going in and out.
Somebody
I
dropped.
wasn't sure if it was me. Um, yeah, and so that was a huge find, and I sent it to Roger at Mud Fossils University, but he took no interest in it. I filmed it, and I was rotating it all around, and I couldn't believe it, because I'd been watching him for, I don't know, 6 months or a year, and seen a number of his
Yeah.
videos, and he had never shown anything in his channel that was as detailed and undeniable as this rock I sent him, and I couldn't believe he didn't
Mhm.
even want to talk about it with anybody. Now I'm actually suspicious of that fact, but
Should be.
suspicious by
Right.
nature
That guy's weird, man.
nowadays. But yeah,
I
so
watched his video a few times and he just talks in circles a lot. So
yeah,
be
Mhm.
I
aware of that.
I'm definitely leaning towards shill for
Yeah.
a variety of reasons, but like any shill, they're going to give you some truth, and they're going to mix it with lies, and then, confound you and send you down, the
Mhm.
wrong paths. But so I think that's part of what he was doing with, he's got this 900-mile long dragon in the Sahara he's always talking about, and so if you want to be accepted by the mainstream with your mud fossil theory and present a bunch of evidence for that, what a great way to debunk yourself by suddenly talking about a 900-mile long dragon in the Sahara. Like, who in the
Right.
mainstream is going to even give you the time of day after hearing such a
Right.
ridiculous idea? So maybe that,
Yep.
maybe
Send
it's
them
as
a
simple as
perfect
that.
heart, or send them a
Yeah,
something with
and
all
then
the anatomical stuff present, and
yeah, so I after sending him that and him just kind of rejecting it, I thought, okay, I've got to make a video about this thing. And so I got out my anatomy books, and I got 3D rendering online, and showed, like, step by step, all of the different features that this stone had. And that video was called Mud Fossils: The Heart of the Matter. And then I thought, well, if it's true, it should be reproducible. I should be able to go back out into the field, and find more examples of this. And I already
Mhm.
then I couldn't explain why I was finding it, because it made no sense based on what I knew about, how things petrify. How could the heart be there without the rest of the body, without having deteriorated in the process of petrification? Some are like, well, maybe it was some kind of a sacrificial ritual and they were removing the hearts, like, no, not
Right.
finding them in such huge quantity. So I theorized that there was some kind of a cataclysmic event that was, forces that we can't even fathom, whether it was volcanic with heat, or whether it was some kind of electrical plasmatic event.
Right. Right.
Something happened, and I call it boiled egg theory, which is all of the organs in the body are wrapped in a fascial sac, and they are
Yeah.
floating, suspended in water, essentially, in our abdomen and our chest cavities. And then the
Right.
abdomen and the chest cavity itself is also a big fatty sac. So,
Right.
So basically, if you imagine like this body just getting hit with, waves of whatever that involved, incredible heat or electrical power, then that would just burn away the skin and the bone and
It
and
sure
as that was
would.
happening, the organs inside their fatty sacs inside the the liquid of the chest and abdominal cavities would be boiling like a pressure cooker.
Gross.
And anyone
Yeah,
who's
they
ever used a
would.
pressure cooker, like imagine, or anyone who's boiled an egg knows what I'm talking about. The egg is made of protein.
Uh-oh. I think we lost
Uh-oh.
him. You dropped out, bro. Well, now you know what it's like, Barry.
Yeah, man. He was there and he's gone.
He's gone.
Yep.
Hey, do you want to
He'll
do
be back.
some tarot though, a little bit,
Yeah, man.
or
Yeah,
whatever?
what do you got on your side while we're waiting for him to pop back in here?
Check it out.
I gotta go in and get my deck. It's gonna get all robot-y if I go up there, so maybe we'll see what you got on hand first.
So I pulled out the. This is an old I Ching deck. It's really old. The box is all wrecked and stuff. Oh, it's from the
Awesome.
70s. I've never done this. It comes with some cool cards. I'll try and put them on the camera real quick. Got so the I Ching is what? It's supposedly the oldest system.
Right.
64 hexagrams, and they all
I think
have what is it? Yeah, they all have
different angles, right?
Right, yeah, it's a very complex. I've been learning it gradually. It definitely, I have a deck that corresponds tarot with it as well. Oh, they're called trigrams, my bad. Oh, the trigrams form the hexagrams. Right.
There you go.
But yeah, I'll.
So yeah, there's 64 cards, right?
Yeah, 64 of the symbols. Yep. So.
Symbols, yep.
Yeah, let's go. And then, so the cool thing is on the back of the cards they have some advice or whatever. So I'll try and shuffle these up and draw a
Looks
card.
like Mike dropped out. Mike, if everybody who's listening there, I think Stellium on YouTube, you can find his works there. I don't know if he'll pop back up. There he is. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, well, I posted I put his channel on there so people can check him out as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think he's in an area where he's probably on that river bottom or something, and he's not getting good service or something. Who knows?
He's in the boons.
In the boonies. All right, so you're shuffling.
So we're gonna go with the standard. Show us what we need to see.
There you go.
There
you go.
This has been a
good
Open
episode.
Our eyes. All right, let's see what we got. We got Ta Chuang. I'll send you a picture.
Ooh.
The power of the great.
Ooh.
It says above Chen, thunder, movement. Below Chien, creative, active, heaven.
Wow, that's pretty awesome right there. So we've got pretty much the thunder above, and I'm trying to think thunder. Yeah, thunder to me is the center of stillness. So that's why you've got a big storm, and then in the center of the storm you've got this space where thank you, baby, where all the different everything's circling around. So you've got this place of generation of a spiral of like up movement above the snake that eats its tail. And it's like columns, like the central column of sound almost. And yeah, let me see here. And then that's really the sound is what's creating everything below, and the power of the great, it's pretty much that Vulcan right there, that Thor. It's the dropping of the hammer, that big boom, 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 and then shaking, that physical vibration.
Yeah.
It shows you something from nothing before that moment and what created that was the stillness. That creates space. Stillness creates the space. And once everything was still enough, there was no place for the sound send that energy. So it had to start sending it up and down, which is what created that thunder and that column shift right there. And that's very much your spine. Your spinal system is that thunder system, that black sun that stacks in a column fashion right there. And then it reflects from the spine, it reflects out into the world of color. So the power of the great, is that it's very much that generative process right there, that base energy, that sacrum. It's like that spear that gets thrown in the ground, and it's like shakes everything. It's just this. I don't know. You need this. It's the ripple of the pond, pretty much, and everything lives off those initial waves right there. So you probably have a cosmic thunder that's always rippling and creating everything. And Stellium just wrote, "Sorry to interrupt. You're good, man. We enjoyed having you pop in, brother."
Yeah, man, that was cool. Hey, let me read the back of this card real quick.
Go for it. Go for
So
it.
it says, Ta Chong indicates that it will be advantageous to be firm and correct in accordance with propriety. Okay, I guess I could read all the aspects. It says, 9 at the bottom, he manifests his vigor in his toes. This will certainly lead to exhaustion, evil. 9 in the second place, with firm correctness there will be good fortune. 9 in the third place, that's 3 nines, that's interesting. The small man uses all his strength. In the case of the superior man, it is his rule not to do so. Wow, 4 nines, 9 in the fourth place. Firm correctness leads to good fortune and repentance disappears. 6 in the fifth place. He loses his ram-like strength in the ease of his position, no repentance. And lastly, 6 at the top. The ram butts against the fence. He is unable to retreat or advance. No advantage in any respect. If he realizes the difficulty, there will be good fortune. Interesting. 4 nines.
So a lot of good fortune with that card, yeah.
4 nines,
cool.
2 6.
So it's looking like it's posting it around. So as it goes above, a 9 is a 9 under the earth, under the horizon, and as it goes above the horizon, it becomes the 6, which is that 69 system that we're in of the Cancer from Capricorn. That's your tropical pole, which is that center column right there. So it's giving you all the different aspects as it moves around the pole. It looks like in the second house position right there, it's a good spot for this kind of energy. Good fortune, generative forces coming in. Hopefully with fucking prices going up everywhere, we all have extra, money coming in somehow. Maybe we can get the creative forces going in us to, help pretty much get some extra mooney so we can get some bread on our plates a little longer, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we're always provided for. I mean, no matter what happens in this realm, I feel like everybody that, is here on their mission, they're constantly fed, and they're constantly given what they need. They're always provided for. So, you're always in good hands. All right. I pulled. That's a good pull there, Todd. I've got a couple cards on my side. I pulled an animal card today on the animal deck. And then I've got, of course, the classic Illuminati card here. Just going to take a quick picture, and excellent. It's coming up. So for the Illuminati card, I've got Save the Whales. And I've pretty much got a lady with a red shirt, Donald Trump-like hair there, and she's gripping a purple whale with a flyer that says "Save" all crumbled up in her hand. So we might see some neat stories about nature coming up, about them using, philanthropy in nature to do something evil. They might say, hey, we're going to go do X, Y, and Z to benefit, nature. We're going to be, we're going to stop using Bitcoin because it hurts the environment, or they're going to use nature in some way as a cover. So just watch for that. That's kind of what I see in that card. It could tied directly to something to do with whales. And it could be, think of whales as the elite. The whales, like the high gamblers. It could be they might be doing something right now where they're trying to save themselves because shit's about to hit the fan for them. So you could see them scrambling, like Epstein shit, like we saw before the other year. You could just see them, throwing each other under the bus, more of that mutual deception and whatnot. So save the whales there would work. But I really like the using nature part to cover for something that you're doing there with this card. It says on the thing, if used with an action, it must be played when that action is first declared and counts only for that action. If used for defense, the bonus lasts until the end of the turn. It's good for defense only and does not count towards goals. So you can use nature in two ways as your initial intent. Hey, we're going to do this for nature, or you can use it in defense, like, hey, you can't do that because of nature. So you could see, notice it says if used with action, it must be played when the action is first declared. So the whole point of this card, of this play right here, is to use this as a blinding intent. So they're gonna use this as a fake intent on something out there. We've also got the 34 card, which is neat
I
for
know,
the
right?
1134 stuff. We've got the grouse. The grouse is a neat bird. I think the grouse is mainly a ground bird, if I'm not
I
mistaken. I
think
know
so,
people hunt
yeah.
the grouse.
Yeah.
I know growing up, my dad would go hunt grouse and whatnot, and they were supposed to be really good eating. But I'm not 100% familiar with the grouse. I know that, being a ground bird, in that sense would, maybe show you something we're supposed to be doing right now, how we're supposed to be moving. I look at the animal cards as the type of movement we're supposed to be executing. So what I'm looking at here is something of the air quality, something that's typically of the mind realm, the realm of the father, and it's on the ground. So it's showing me that it's grounded with its feet. It's connecting pretty much to the mother, to the earth. So you have a very air earth centered energy right here. 34 is a 7 in numerology. So it could be the bird at the top of the mountain, the peak of the 7, just sitting there. I think grouse do like mountains and whatnot. That's where you'd find them. I know out west, I know out east, you find them in cornfields. So a little tie to Capricorn in the mountain there as well. But yeah, man, grouse, and we've got save the whales. So we've
Wow.
got a little bit of animal coming through on the Illuminati side there.
They can
So you might
fluff
see
up
some.
like turkeys.
Yeah, I think they do. I think the grouses dance too. They have a. I remember when I worked out in wildfire out west. I worked in northern Nevada, McDermott, right there on the border of Oregon and Nevada, and the sage grouse was an endangered species there,
Huh.
and so they don't fly. I know that they. I don't think they fly. They're grounded specifically, and they have ritualistic dances when they go to mate. So they all get in a circle, and then the male to be goes in and starts doing his color show and his sound show. So it's
Wow.
very much which shows you the father grounded down here, the mind, the father sky walking around on earth, exhibiting in all its colors, and it can be anything. It can really take any form. The mind is a formless being that can be any form. So it's a pretty good card for this time right now. Don't shut down your possibilities anywhere, and keep everything open, and be that the father. It's showing you right now this time of the year too. The father has landed, the light has touched down, it's walking around on the ground. It's about to get off into many different adventures right now with tropical Gemini. It's still got a lot of fixed earth with the sidereal Taurus that we're in, because let me see, I think we're right in the middle. Let me pull that up. We are 15 degrees, yeah, dead center, tropic or sidereal Taurus. The moon today, we're at 13 degrees, just hit the 13th degree of Capricorn right now, is what it's going into. The ascendant's at 2 degrees Leo. So, very big fixed energy right now going on. Nice
Hmm.
split though. You've got earth, and fire. So, and that's what we were just looking at, the bird kingdom too, the sky, the mind, air and fire are very connected. Those are both of the positive forces that are above the horizon to the negative forces, earth and water, which are below. So it's the positive influence. It's the true movement. The true stillness is the mother. The things that sit still, the stillest is the earth, and then the next stillest would be the water that moves along the earth and scores the pea, scores the life, cuts a river in it. A river runs through it. So and then you've got your two plus, your two positive actions, your true movements, your very much your Martian, your animal, your zodiac, everything that actually moves goes around the stillness, goes around the earth and the water. So fire goes around and air goes around. Air is consciousness, and fire is mind, intellect, organization, sense. So you've very much got the air, the intuitive, the all, the love. It gave birth to the fire, the logos, and low key, and everything visible and everything sensible. But everything sensible came from that which is not sensible, and it was put into sense by the unsensible. And that just shows you that the love birthed the logos, and that's why they try to keep us in those bubbles we were talking about earlier. They don't want us to figure out that it's not a necessity, that none of this has to happen. They don't want us to know that this is a gift and love, and that this is all given freely. So, I mean, that's what they're hiding. They put a big bang there. They put all this necessity in there. They
Yeah.
put all the determinism in there to show, to hide the true gift of life, the gift of love from the chaos. Love is chaos. Love is something you can't pin down. Love is something you can't organize. Love is something you can just appreciate. You can adore. You can play with the qualitative aspect of it. But the quantity side of love is probably what happened with the fall when we started trying to number it and to value it. And, that's probably what the whole money Mooney system is, and is taking love and putting a value on it, taking your time and putting a value stamp on it.
It's interesting you
Um,
mentioned that because I've been thinking about love in this sense. It, like it goes without saying. I almost see the word love as being so beaten down now. Where in a way, like
right.
the way people see the word God, where it has this.
Yeah.
It's so abstracted and yet is representing something. It's supposed, in my opinion, it's supposed to represent like something you can't even say. And
Right.
so when I think
Right.
about love, it's like I see that as a direct offshoot of that mentality. And
What?
like we have
Right.
these holidays that are supposed to be, these are the days that you love this person. It's like, first of all, you should do that every day to the extent of your ability, but like it also should just go without saying. Like I don't, it's very bastardized. Maybe is the best word. I don't know, but it's the way people say love so often. It's like, man, does it have meaning for you? And then it's like, well, your actions matter, whatever that saying is. You know what I mean?
Right. It's that
Um,
same realm, though. I mean,
yeah,
it's that same, and it's really I look at it as the cosmic mother, the cosmic father, and the cosmic mother. They came from the transparent, originally, which is that which you can't talk about, the clear. There's nothing to sense, but it holds everything and nothing at the same time. It's see-through, and that's really also the SEA, the sea moving through, the river running through it, nice and clear. No impurities, nice clear water, the crystal clear.
yep,
And then that first, you've very much got the holder of time, the mother, the negative, the two her two negative bodies of earth and water. I mean, that's going to be the first primordial, the second primordial creation or essences right there. And then you've got, off of that, you've pretty much got the positive forces that started sticking to that. I mean, it had to have been the same time. It had to have been an even split from the center. You had to have had, I guess, the positive, I mean, the fire, though, for me, was last. You can't, you already had the earth, or the water was last. You already had the earth. But I guess you had to have the air, and then you had the earth. So that's the something from nothing. You pulled the earth in from thin air, and at that moment you got consciousness. You had, the earth had air, so your matter has consciousness, but it can't sense yet. So once the fire came, that in itself caused everything visible and everything sense. And then when that an offshoot of that happening was water. So then all of a sudden the original water, which was ice, started absorbing the fire, and you've got this new thing appearing. So really you've got earth and ice, and then you've got air, and you've got fire, and then you've got water as this fifth like thing, this ether, this clear, this beautiful result of all the others, because you couldn't have the water without the earth to hold it, without the air to blend with it, and without the fire to warm it. So it's very much the offshoot of the rest. And I don't know how the hell we were getting into that, but
You're just
yeah, man.
explaining density and how it's all created. Basically,
Right.
the basic elemental alchemy. I mean, that's how I see what we were just kind of ranting about. Yeah,
Right. I
yeah.
mean, you got to start. You've got to start somewhere, and it's SUMWEAR somewhere. Like you've got to, the sum of what you're wearing is going to be that which is around you, that which you see your center from. That's where you view time from, and that's what epoch of time your consciousness is going to be viewing from. They're all available. When you go off at nighttime into those realm. Hey, Olivia got out. The cat's out. The cat's outside. Sorry, it's out back here hunting. My bad. Yeah, in our squirrel area. Anyways, you've got to start somewhere, and the only safe spot to start is going to be that transparent. I mean that clear. Like it's literally the both sexes in one, the transportation, it's see-through, it's the invisible. It's the real invisible. Like it's in our representation from our perspective is Taurus there. The bowl. It's that where Vulcan sits, it's where the moon exalts, it's where Venus day rules. It shows you what's happening there. It's a translation of light from unseen, invisible light into visible sound light. And then Gemini comes along to just send it off into all these little channels, and we play with it. And it goes through its height in the summer there, and then it approaches the fall, and then it hits its stillness and death on the branch and on the cross there. And then it starts to build again, and then we keep building this tree over and over. Like we're growing really high up into the fucking stars, and we're constantly getting rid of our impurities through our growth. And I don't know, man.
I
What
think
the
that's
hell are
very
we in, Todd?
exciting, though, right? I mean, like,
It's very
if
exciting.
you consider this mentality of you're lucky to be alive, everything, we're here out of
Right.
cosmic soup. It's like, well, how about a reality where we're not just completely insignificant and nothing
No, I
means
love that.
nothing and everything's a stupid simulation and all this goofy shit.
Right.
It's like, let's have meaning to our lives, let's make meanings to your lives. Like, that's, in
Right.
my opinion, what you're probably supposed to be doing to some extent. um,
Yeah, meaning is important. Like that's a
yeah,
big part of all
and
this
we
is
make that,
to
right?
give it meaning. Yeah, we make the meaning. You're making, that's what you're creating is meaning for everything. Yourself and your environment. You're giving both sides meaning, your inner and your outer. You're creating this wall to bounce off of, to kind of, it's a barrier for your consciousness, for your mind. It's a part of your blueprint. So if you keep your boundaries way the fuck out there, I mean, you've got all the space in the world. There's just no end. It's cosmically infinite. All realms are the physical, light, the spatial realms, time realms. Every single dimension is going to be infinite in itself. I mean, just out of the very nature of something coming from nothing. If something can come from nothing, then everything that comes from nothing is going to be potentially infinite because you can just keep pulling something from nothing once
Right.
you know how to do that. So, I mean, and then it's probably not nothing like NUT, not thin. It's probably no thing like KNOWTHING. You know thing, nothing, no thing, and it's very much the know a thing, right? Like, how do you? It's such a, then that's giving it meaning, like providing meaning for everything, and then when you eat things, when you bury the sine waves around you, you know what you're eating, and then you know what you are. And when you know what you are, you know what you have to the right. And when you know what you have to the right, you know what you have in your unseen inner qualities and your unseen realms. And then you can see what you can't see. And when you can see what you can't see, I mean, that's pretty beautiful. Then you can see everything. And
Mm-hmm.
seeing everything is very important. You know, it's if you don't have all the stuff to work with, you're not going to ever form an accurate opinion or give something proper meaning anywhere if you're not, observing it from the perspective of the most heightened all that you can access every single time. And granted, a lot of us reach, a lot of us try to come up with our best shot at that. It's we don't all have the same tools we're working with. I mean, you have a particular realm, Todd, you can look into and see the perfect truth and meaning in an art world or a particular world that you've dialed and that you've come to just study the patterns in and out, like whether it's color, whether it's shade and form, whether it's reading books, people with literature, people with cultures and mythos, people with like Mike or Stallion, people that are good with anatomy that can see truth through that,
Mm-hmm.
like being able to, hey, this should be, if this is really this, then it should have this cavity here, this cavity there, and then to go find it. I mean, people are all finding their own meaning and validations for the world is infiniteless on what it can really be. So it's
Yeah.
almost like all this meaning that we're providing for it everywhere is giving it the life that we enjoy. So the very fact that Stellium is putting creative human forces in these realms and looking into them is giving life for these realms to live and to enjoy. And if that wasn't there, these realms, would they still be there? That's a great question. I think so. I think, through all aspects of time, everything's held. There's a mind somewhere that has all time held into one epoch or moment of a now. And then all it did was it took this now and it broke it down into how the now and it studied its now. And when it studied its now, that's how we got where we're at right now. We're in here studying ourselves as the now, what we are in the constant coming and going of the now. And that's the only place you can ever be is a constant
Right.
now. Like you can never go back to yesterday, you can never jump into tomorrow. You're always in the results of your yesterdays and the possibilities of your tomorrow. That's what's controlling you, your possibilities of the future and what's holding you back on your past. Let go of that and let go of that and just be in the now. Keep all your possibilities open and let nothing weigh you down, and
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be that free from Leviathan, those chains that hold you down back there. They'll snap, they'll break. You'll be up free instead of Leviathan. You'll be levitating. And
Oh yeah.
good. Yeah, baby. What do you think, Todd? 1236. What do we got there? Is that a 9? Let me see. No, that's
Mm-hmm.
an 11 or a 12. That's a 12. Okay. All right.
Um,
Well, a couple 2.5 hours there. 2 hours 20 minutes or so. Episode 11.
it was good.
You're gonna be off next week, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to reschedule for a different day, we can, but I know you got a pretty set schedule,
Let's take
so
a no.
we
We'll
can take a week
we'll take a
off.
break. We'll take a week off. When it doesn't hit on Sundays, we'll go with the flow.
Sure.
And we'll pick right back up, episode 12. A couple Sundays out. So I mean, everybody that's listened today, really appreciate you again, and
Yeah.
appreciate the comments. Share if you can. Get the word out there, and we'll just make this party bigger.
Yep.
That's it, man. And you have a
Awesome.
fun week, Todd. What do you got going on next week? You got an art show or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to get in. Well, I'm on one art thing on Sunday for sure, and then I will be hopefully doing one on Saturday as well. And they're in town, so if you know me
Awesome.
IRL, come check me out. But yeah, that's the
Awesome.
plan,
Awesome.
man. Trying to give people art that helps boost their imagination, and people seem to
That's
really
it,
like
brother.
it. So that's what it's all about.
That's awesome, man.
Uh,
Yep, and you're meeting awesome people. That's cool,
Yeah,
man. That's good
tons of
stuff.
people, man. Tons of new artists. It's really cool. It's hard to remember all the names, but I'm writing them down so I don't forget.
That's cool. That's cool,
Yeah, man.
man. It's a big future coming. It's a big
Yeah,
future that's all sharing and You know, I look at it hopefully as like a rebirth of the '60s on crack times 1,000. You know, just absolutely, we're done with all your rules. You had your shot. You completely fucked everything up. We're not going back there. We're doing straight music and festivals the rest of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think it's like I've been saying it for a while now, like invest in relationships, and I'm living that,
yes,
right? So I'm trying to find the
yes,
best relationships to invest in right now, and it's working so
that's
far.
That's
Um,
true. That's a great point. I'm kind of same thing, man. I'm out there. That's what we're here for. I
yeah.
mean, we're here for pretty much the rare cosmic beings that you meet from the only how do you meet somebody that's, X amount of millions of light years away? I mean, like you meet here in the middle. I mean, this is where we all meet up at. So, I mean, you can meet friends here that are from fucking Arcturus, the fastest star in the system that's leading all the other suns. You can meet stuff from Hercules and learn about her clues, and you can meet ones from Scorpio, from Aries. I mean, all the stars, all the constellations, all these are all gifts here joining up. I mean, we might as well share as much as we can. Let other people with the nature gifts they brought, you know, take their nature gifts in, and you should share your nature gifts with them. And it's a giant place to do that in. So you're right, Todd, dead on, man. That's what we should value. That's our big value pocket right there is the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. That's it, man.
Awesome. Well,
Well,
hey, thanks everybody. Yeah, it's been a good one. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks, I guess.
absolutely. You can take care, everybody. Todd, it's been a fun week, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care, Barry. How do I end stream? There we go. Boom.
There we go. Awesome, man.
Nice.
Good
Yeah, good
show,
one.
brother.